the hypocrisy. Or if you examine the state of affairs in their land, you will find human rights violations, total disregard for the Constitution, countless political persecution, and a wave of sanctioned violence with the blessing of legislative criminals and fought by sadistic gangs. Just like the mongoose one, stand up, Grenada! Stand up again, Grenadian! Don't let nobody come in and dictate your course of action. All of them want force your revolution. And political bandits just like here in their own island. Fight for your rights. Protect what you have. You fought a good fight now. Protect what you have. Don't give in a single inch. Don't retreat, not even a pinch. Don't compromise your revolution. For those scandalous sleeping oppressive political scams in the Caribbean. No way, never rise, no way. God bless you, Grenada. May your freedom be blessed with longevity and prosperous your economy. Make it grant your leaders wisdom, endurance, and courage to run. When your road will be long and rolling, any other problems will come from the native islands. Our hands are tied, we don't control our actions. From the we forward together in a social endeavor of gold. Social control, we slave no more, we slave no more. Only then we stay no more. We'll beg no more. We'll stoop no more. Only then we'll need no more. We cannot live forevermore, subjected from shore to shore, reflecting cowardice and shame against our ancestral name. And then no warriors left among us to rise and shine. No heroes left to rise up unto the shrine. No martyrs in our history for the used to do. Scholars died to make us free. Coffee died to make us free. Gandhi died to make us free. But all these warriors die in vain, while we go back to slavery once again. If you think the battle is done, my brother, and you are riding an illusion, an illusion. You talk of progress, love and justice, peace and unity. All illusion, all illusion. We have no hold on these our native islands. Our hands are tied, we don't control our actions. From the we forward together in a social endeavor of gold. Social control, we slave no more, we slave no more. Only then we'll stay no more. We'll beg no more, we'll stoop no more. Only then we'll need no more. The struggle has only just begun. We've got to carry on. Uniting these West Indian lands may take us generations. But independent in this region don't mean one down. If we can be independent as one, the economic and policies are disheartening. The people's voices are ringing. We are tired of living a life of total subjection. Told what to spend and what to keep. God knows sometimes we ain't even have enough to eat. If you think the battle is done, my brother, and you are riding an illusion, an illusion. You talk of progress, love and justice, peace and unity. All illusion, all illusion. We have no hold on these our native islands. Our hands are tied.
Night and day are catching hell. People think are doing well just because I sing a few calypso. But that is my misery. Calypso don't make money, but most of them don't know that I have my axe to grind, just like any other man, existing in poverty and this giant ghetto land. But I intend to hang on. Tell them for me no dice. I ain't gonna eat lice, I ain't gonna grow old, sitting in the cold, not me. No way, they gon' have to beat me, they gon' have to eat me, or their heads go roll. Tell them I say I was born in this land, I go die in this land. Nobody go run me from where me come from. Nobody go run me, lad. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Me mama must yam, me papa must yam, me woman must yam, me picnic must yam. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me, lad. Nobody go run me. Life ain't much for us to choose. Some we win and some we lose, but sometimes life is so confusing. I had a lot of friends one time whom I used to wine and dine and gave them bread when they need it. Now most of them against me, take me make the enemy, simply because I am not what they all want me to be. And with the political views I can't agree, but tell them for me no dice. I ain't gonna eat lice, I ain't gonna grow old, sitting in the cold, not me algae. No way, they gon' have to beat me, they gon' have to eat me, or their heads go roll. Tell them I say I was born in this land, I go die in this land. Nobody go run me from where me come from. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Me mama must yam, me papa must yam, me woman must yam, me picnic must yam. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Let go. 12 years I at CBC, work at Halcyon for free, when they went bankrupt and had no money. Because of my tolerance, they gave me the assurance the job belongs to me. But I hear some people high in our society, they don't like my calypso because they can't control me, so they plan to kick out my ass. Tell them, party no dice. I ain't gonna eat lice, I ain't gonna grow old, sitting in the cold, not me shorty. No way, all you have to beat me, all you have to bury me, more than 6 feet and more. Tell them I say I was born in this land, I go die in this land. Nobody go run me from where me come from. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Me mama must yam, me papa must yam, me woman must yam, me picnic must yam. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Election come and gone, some of them treat me with scorn, others put the whole point against me. Tell them I don't give a damn, I am going to sing my song exactly as I see it. Whoever want to make me a political enemy, who feel that they're playing God and could wreck me life for me, tell them I ain't running away. Tell them for me no dice. I ain't gonna eat lice, I ain't gonna grow old, sitting in the cold, not me shorty. No way, all you have to beat me, all you have to bury me, more than 6 feet and more.
In high society, politicians don't care leading the crew. They don't care about me, they don't care about you. And right now, they so-called friend doing it too. But yesterday I went if you give respect, you will get respect. If you play with fire, you will get one also. Instead of just go and fight Saddam for oil, he should come here in Grenada, like he said and take over. Cause we have a set and don't be going around pretending they love we, robbing the poor in high society. Politicians don't care leading the crew. They don't care about me, they don't care about you. And right now, they so-called friend doing it too. But yesterday I went to clear my van. When I hear the price from the custom, I know that in the black man is Satan. Just next door I went to change money. When I see her there of that old lady, I know that banker man is Satan. When I see that chief man minister threaten to jail me and the newspaper, I know that girl queen is Satan. Satan was in the country, Satan in the treasury, they robbing everybody, in parliament I see. Satan was in the country, Satan in the treasury, they robbing everybody, in parliament I see. Satan, la-di-do-di, li-di-da-di, good God, la-di-do-di. Satan don't get that qualify, and they're very good to telling, like believe me, some had to identify. In the ministry, some of them walking, police sabotage, them union, leader is Satan king. Some of them they hiding behind the law, some again they posing as big lawyer, green leader, have too much Satan monster. Cause yesterday I went to clear my van, when I hear the price from the custom, I know that little black man is Satan. Just next door I went to change money. When I see her there of that old lady, I know that man is Satan. When I see how that ballet sent to me, innocently my friend tried to jail me, I know that wicked man is Satan. Satan runs in the country, Satan in the treasury, they robbing everybody, in parliament I see. Satan runs in the country, Satan in the treasury, they robbing everybody, in parliament I see. Satan, la-di-do-di, li-di-da-di, good God, la-di-do-di, li-di-da-di. California don't get them Satan too. They in the art from giving trouble, oh my God, them is the true devil. Big scholar and persuader, black wizard and many other pussycat, Granny Satan brother. Everything they touch it keep vanishing. Californian money fired missing, and right now it's all want to they start tipping. Cause yesterday I went to clear my van, when I hear the price from the custom, I know that little black man is Satan. Just next door I went to change money. When I see her there of that old lady, I know that banker man is Satan. When I see his spectacle keeps on and going wrong with God beating poor man, I know that policeman is Satan. Satan runs in the country, Satan in the treasury, they robbing everybody, in parliament I see. Satan runs in the country, Satan in the treasury, they robbing everybody, in parliament I see. Satan, la-di-do-di, li-di-da-di, good God, la-di-do-di, li-di-da-di. Satan reaping everything to the country with money they shipping daily, and that is a regret thing. Even my sisters they underpaying, some of them to them Syrian raping and more that we Satan government doing nothing. Them Satan well but they don't make him joke. All that and can't they sell the passport, even me. Them Satan try to cut my throat. But yesterday I went to clear my van, when I hear the price from the custom, I know that little black man is Satan. Just next door I went to change money. When I see her there of that old lady, I know that banker man is Satan. When I see her we get them suffering, so the people like them all. I love you and you truly a child to understand that all you have is just in water and sand. All of them Caribbean leader, instead of pulling together, they prefer to friend with Reagan and Thatcher. Dominican suffering bad, their coats can't get to Trinidad, cause Chambers ain't giving license, it is sad. Chambers saying it's big racket, they want to flood Trinidad market with all their cheap inferior goods, and we won't permit it. But we want to re-register as the national carrier.
Loisa, Antigua turned down his offer. It's time Chambers and Zebra understand. You both need each other in the region. You can make treaties with France and Japan. And with your own people you can join hands. Mr. Bird and tourists that come St. John, they need the way for their transportation. This time you and Chambers sit down and start to plan, 'cause all you have is just sea water and sand. Woman, alive.
This is Caribbean Vibe.
Come leaders that show zest. They feel that their country is blessed once they have more foreign exchange than the rest. Others riding high and mighty, claiming they have stability, for the dollar in the US is worth plenty. And they're meeting regularly, drawing up all kind of treaty. And after they drink their whiskey, the treaty dead already. At the heads of government conference, business shop talk and ignorance. Lots of talk, but no action ever comments. This time we Trinidadians understand. We got to help the other small island. We can eat fish and oil with rice and jam. We got to trade it for Grenadian yam. All the oil we have in our nation, it's just a drop in the Arabian Ocean. And stop telling Guyanese they from the mainland, 'cause all we have is just sea water and sand. Some of them Caribbean leaders, to get Mr. Reagan's dollar, will denounce their CARICOM friends and neighbor. Eugenia crossing Guyana, refusing to even go there, and lambasting Chambers for his behavior. Chambers blocking Grenadians' way, man as though they have Cocoa Bay. Cause to travel to Port of Spain, Grenadians need visa. LMCs want free money to build up their economy. Still you can spend a TT dollar in their country.
This is Caribbean Vibe.
It's time the whole Caribbean understand. We don't have gold, uranium or diamond. So Yankees don't care if we fall or stand. Our resources can change Regan's workland. You can depend on tourist John Compton.
Yes.
To carry solutions into heaven. To survive, you and Simmons must walk hand in hand. 'Cause nobody can see water and sand.
Yes, nobody can eat seawater and sand. Good night, Greta Kaiku. Peter Matnick and Margaret Francis, good night to you. I have not seen my regular suspects for tonight yet, apart from you. But is not here yet. I can give him a little leeway, a pass, just for a moment.
You know, I mean, what's up with that?
Yeah, you know, I see today, Jabba surprised me talking about he in Toronto all the time and all this stuff, and it's my friend he have in his cage.
What's up with that?
My God. This morning, I see what's wrong with this. Oh my God. I gotta talk to him. I gotta have a serious conversation.
Exactly. I mean, he can't now leave me to hang out to dry hair alone.
I know. What is it? I mean, no, you can't do that.
No, that's totally unacceptable.
Yeah, you can't afford that. You can't afford that. You can't be doing us that.
Not at all. Not at all. Where's everybody else?
Pastor Daphne was in a prayer meeting, I think. So this one that yeah. She was on today. She's starting her new show. Today she launched a new show, Community Day. Today at 1:00. It'll be every day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, interviewing politicians, dignitaries in government. She's on the Liberal Party women's executive body. Yeah.
Okay.
A recruiter and trainer for young politicians in the city, Toronto.
All right.
She's grooming. I won't use the word that round folks use. Grooming horses. You know what I mean? Groomer is no longer great. I heard. I had the groomers out, leave them to dry. Because after what happened there, I think there's a lot of horses giving trouble in this table, because I think what happened now with Mr. Oliver Joseph and the Washington.
Oh yes, right. But the ambassador that was supposed to be replacing him in St. David's. I mean, what's up with St. David's that you just can't get it right? NDC messes it up.
Yeah.
NNP is messing it up. I mean, what's up with St. David's? Come on, where's St. David's? Any St. David's in the house here tonight? Come on, what's it with this parish that they can't get it right?
They're missing a tongue. That's what they need. They need a tongue. St. David's is missing a tongue, and they need a tongue in St. David. You know.
That is so funny. They're
missing a tongue. They have a tongue. Yeah.
I think so. I think so.
For whoever, or for the people at tongue. I think that's where they have to go with it, because somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, St. David's really a maker of political parties. Almost every party starts in St. David's.
Yes. That is so true, because NGM had their roots there as well. Mm-hmm.
And then you look back at the other movements that came out of St. David's. Right?
Correct.
And you still have the leader again of this opposition is from St. David's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number who are Cynthia Gary. Gary found his wife.
Yeah, and for people who are old enough to remember the 1976 elections,
yes.
The St. David's seat was a seat that was in contention. And because I remember that night very well. I mean, I was a kid in high school, but I remember that you heard results coming in and you couldn't get St. David's at all. And then all of a sudden, St. David's was declared. It was declared without your even hearing the results.
Just like how you couldn't hear, it take a long time to hear the Northeast, St. George's Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
That again another trouble spot. Again, there are so many people vying for that seat in that area. We're hoping that things will change around for them and things will be better. Let's see what happens. It's a long way to go. We'll never know. Uncle Kitty can say, well, I will call election tomorrow. But I don't know. The St. David's seat seems to be a troubling stuff now, because now people have a reason to say, well, they're fighting. They have been fighting now too. You know what I mean? There goes. That's one of the dirty laundry that is now being aired in public. What else is not being aired in public?
Yeah. That's very true.
What else inside this party that's going on that we don't know about now? We want answers now. We start demanding. Yeah, because that is.
Don't worry, they won't be forthcoming. That won't be.
Yeah, no, you'll come out. You see, they have a saying: you can't control water when it overflows the banks. And this
true.
Like a reservoir. Once one floodgate is open, every place gets
Yeah. Everything starts going. Yes, that's true.
People start
That's very true.
poking at that bigger bag there now and saying, what else you have inside that we need to know what's going on now. Because Oliver will miss it, and there will be a contention between he and the Prime Minister who wanted that lady in that seat. So that will be
it will be interesting to see what happens. It will be very interesting to see what happens there.
Not giving up that seat, he said. So let's see. Well, you know, he's not giving it up. You know, so if they decide to put somebody else there, you know, out of the party, they decide to put her there. I think she come back to Washington already, but to put somebody else there, that would be an independent seat for him, and that will split up the vote. So that would. But
do you honestly think that he would run as an independent?
If push come to shove, they shove him out. You know, and if the master politician decide, look, it's a risk to have you there, you know, with Deacon, and you know, I would be kind of concerned about that right now if I was kid, because if you go and do that, if you push him out and you put somebody else to replace him, and he said he run as independent, you have a problem. Then I have a little concern on the NDC side as well, because in the Prime Minister call election tomorrow, and Persuader, who I'm not hearing about, he's the deputy leader, not hearing nothing about him. If he decides to run independent, St. David's seat will be a real messed up seat, you know.
But back up here. What are you saying? Persuader running independent?
I say, well, yeah, if you want independent, and I've seen him, so I'm not hearing him. I just, you know, he's not coming out, and I don't see him on the street like everybody else. So
right.
Even Joel Greenwich, you know, who also came in second to Persuader for the seat when they had this sort of by-election there. And Joel decided to run. He come in a close second to Persuader, right? So imagine these three people gone independent.
Oh Lord, Grenada is a special place. Grenada is a special place.
The Trini say God must be a Trini. I think God must be a Grenada. Special. But you know, it's made for a good laugh and good political entertainment, you know.
Yeah. But it also shows again. It also. I mean, yes, you're right. It's good laughing matter, but at the same time, it also shows a level of immaturity, political immaturity as well, and whether or not we are ever going to be ready for a big time, or you know, for taking the country out of the morass it's in right now.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that is happening in Grenada that probably we need to deep into. And I want to recognize, I'm seeing a trend in Grenada. A lot of people are interviewing past revolutionaries. I know because it's the season that we're in.
I think you see a lot of that around this time. Every time March 13 comes along, they trot them out to get everybody's hoping, to say something.
What's happening? Mm-hmm.
So it's that time again to trot them out.
Yes, to pull. But tomorrow will be an interesting day. Evening, we have the former president of Ghana will be here.
Okay.
Addressing the main event tomorrow afternoon from 5. Yeah, that will be. Well, tonight I really hope that we could touch some stuff. I just was listening more and more, and I've been reading a lot. And somebody questioned my my post, Francis Pierre, on my position I took. Well, not really a position. I just state some facts, and I made the point that they make it try to look at a Christian against Muslim war, blue-eyed, good Christian people, and they're using that as a cliche to get the in the news. All these white people, media houses, reporting and making noise about white Christian people, and you have this Polish president saying that you don't want nobody from the Middle East into Poland, and so on. You don't want things. So I made the point that they can be using Christian people, using the Christian name brand, Christianity, blue-eyed Christian people to gain popular support in the West, yes, by using the media houses to propagate the cause and demonizing somebody else when they have the mono doctrine in full effect. Whenever they want, it's like a whip they could put every time and just make any country they want with it, And we okay to say, well, two wrongs will make a right. And, and why is America continue doing that? Why is, at the same time, the bombing Somalia, the Israel bombing Syria, and the Arab bombing Yemen. So you have all these things going on one side. Nobody...
Yeah, I think it's the hypocrisy of the whole thing. As I have said before, I mean, I have no dog in this fight, to be quite honest with you. Yeah. So, and I mean, as you know, that position was even further solidified when I saw the treatment of Black people, basically. You understand? So for me, I don't have a dog in the fight. Now, having said that, though, as I said, in principle, though, I think people have a right to self-determination. If the Ukrainians want to go a particular way, it is their right to do that. If they want to speak their language, it is their right to do that. And it should not be forced on them by anybody at all, regardless of who it is. That's just my position. I mean, I firmly believe in the people's right to self-determination and whatever that is. And again, these things are not things that you sit and you just look at in today. I mean, these things go back centuries and centuries and centuries. And so often we're inclined to look at a lot of modern day battles, from the perspective as though, well, it just popped up. But, these things go back centuries. They're old resentments that you hear coming down. There's all about empire. I mean, long before 1917 and the Russian Revolution, there was a Russian empire that did exactly the same thing of forcing people, seeking to conquer and forcing themselves on people as well. So there has always been these little things going on there with those people. And, so from that perspective, I would look at it as that. But other than that, the coverage has been awful. When I say that, in terms of, oh, well, this doesn't happen in Europe or it's never happened in Europe. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, well, how many Jews were killed and who killed them? Right. And in the most gruesome manner too. And that didn't happen centuries ago. That happened just in the it isn't even a good 100 years since the end of World War II. I mean, you kill all these people in the most horrendous way. And who did it? It wasn't anybody in Africa that came and did it. It was Europeans who did it.
Exactly.
Look at that. We seem to forget that what was it? In the late 80s into the 90s that you had a war in Bosnia.
Yes.
And we seem to forget what happened there when you took all the men and you killed them all because they were all Muslims. Again, who did that?
Exactly.
Where did that happen? So when you're walking around talking about, that this kind of behavior doesn't happen in Europe, really? How the hell do you think Europe came together?
Yeah, and President Clinton just bombed the whole place up. Yeah, he sent bomb up the whole place. And the hypocritical nature of this whole thing is that even when we're talking about powers and superpowers, it was always the white trying to conquer other nations in Africa and what they have done to African people. It was always them, not us. Yeah.
Yeah, and here is it. I mean, the brutality that Europeans have extended to other people around the world. I mean, look at what they did to the native people here. It was Europeans who did it. They seem to forget that. The people who came here, they seem to forget that Americans are descendants of Europeans.
Yeah. And you know what? And I'm even talking about that. I was telling somebody today that the Chelsea football team, the Barclays Band, they were all slave owners. Yeah. Up until 2015, the colonies was paying those people back for.
I mean, let's. I mean, just basic history 101. Maybe they don't teach that here, but you see. And of course, in the Caribbean, now they've now banished and tied up history into social studies. So they figure they're going to keep people a little bit more stupid because guess what? My generation and anybody before did history. And you know what? You taught them a little too much. So they knew a little too much. That's the reason why they lead revolutions and they rebel. So you can't let them know those things, But you see, I was still in high school when I learned that what made the British rich came on the back of slavery. It came on the back of all the sugar plantations in the Caribbean. That's where it came. In fact, they regarded those little islands and those sugar plantations with the slaves there as the jewels in England's crown.
Yes,
you know, why was the jewels in England's crown? Because guess what? That sugar was fetching them and making them wealthy as what?
Exactly.
Until the American colonies came along and started producing beet sugar. And then, of course, you know, the value of cane sugar went down. And of course, you had all the rebellions on the plantations. And so it was not no longer economically viable for them to be there. And so they decided, you know what, let me get out of here and let me free these people. Because you know what? We could always argue too. And I'm not saying that you didn't have humanitarians who were making noise, but I would tell you, as long as it was profitable for them, these humanitarians could have preached till Thy Kingdom Come and they were blue in the face, and we would have been still on the plantations. At the end of the day, it was economics. It was no longer economically viable for them to maintain the slave plantation and the system of slavery. And so they decided, you know what? Let's scrap this. And of course, then you had the pressure coming in. But it was always about money. It was always about economics. It doesn't matter how they spin it. You know, and then you look at Africa and what they did. Look at what they did in the Belgian Congo. How brutal this guy was. I mean.
Look, when I look back at all this stuff, a lot of people say, and the American good at doing this, demonizing their opponent. Yeah. And because you get all the Western media, everybody want to hate Putin. But we're not realizing that America have done evil throughout the whole world. Yeah. Supported by France, England, and
they all have. You know what's sad about this though, as I look at what's happening in Ukraine? I mean, forget, my little personal things, just looking at it. What's sad about it one more time is here you have a small country that's become a pawn in a game between two superpowers.
Yes.
And that has always been the thing. And meanwhile, the people who egg you on, they pull themselves out and they leave you to deal with the issue on your own. Everybody is fighting a proxy war. So now the US is fighting. Well, of course, the US is fighting. You don't have the factions that you would have in other places in Ukraine per se, because the majority of Ukrainians are against the invasion. But the US is technically, and the West is technically fighting a war against Russia, but using the poor people of Ukraine and that country to fight that war.
And that is so true. And when you look at it, Margaret, you people talk about NATO. NATO was supposed to be dissolved in 1989, based on the argument they had with Russia, with Boris Yeltsin and so on. So Boris Yeltsin got rid of Warsaw Pact, and they refused to get rid of NATO. Instead of they expanded their reach into the Eastern Bloc countries. Yes, and some of them is not genuinely the people wanted it. It's the political leaders that left England and so on and go back to Poland and Ukraine and Estonia, all Czechoslovakia, and those most of them leaders was based in England, France, and the United States. So they go back now and agree to join NATO as part of the protection. So it wasn't really people on the ground, the ordinary people that wanted that. It's the leaders that brought that in and join up with them. Now, the other thing about it is, what makes it so ridiculous is that I think Putin made the point that they went to Iraq and they said, we got bad intelligence, We said it's another lie, and a lie covering another lie. And now we have a congresswoman testifying that yes, they are funding a biological lab in Ukraine. Can you imagine that on the doorstep of Russia? So now here you have Russia being faced with the American financing and supporting the lab, a biological weapons lab in Ukraine. Now, how would you feel if Russia was doing that in Mexico? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, they wouldn't. For sure. The US wouldn't like it, obviously. But it doesn't matter how you spin it. It still doesn't make it right to invade somebody's country because of that. And you can't lose sight of that principle because, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make it right if the US chooses to invade Mexico because Mexico chooses to do something like that or form an alliance with thing. And it doesn't make it right that the Russians should invade Ukraine if you have that going on there. Because, that's an argument a lot of people make that, it's on their doorstep. I don't agree with the Monroe Doctrine either. No. And I don't agree with that position either. I just think it is wrong.
I agree. But that is what in the world with the superpowers. That's what they do. And one do, and the other one, they get the whole rest of the Western world to criticize it and to jump up support for against. Yeah. But in the general scheme of things, that's what they do. So that's what superpowers do. They do the same thing, you know. And I think what happened to us in the West, because we are bombarded with Western media propaganda, with the support of the powers that be, the economic giant, the war machinery, the arms manufacturers, you know, and so on. And look what happened in Iraq, right? The millions of gallons of oil was sent out to the West for free, without any account. Money that was taken from Iraq without even weighing them or just taking the money, you know. So all of these things happening, and nobody make a big fuss about it because the West did it. Yeah.
Just bear in mind that, you know, war, somebody always makes money from war, and that's the sick thing about people. At the end of the day, you know, this is not about a war being just or whatever. This is about some arms dealer making money, you know, some country making money. And the reality is that the biggest export from this country is not goods and services, but arms.
Exactly.
And people must realize that that's the biggest export from this country. So you need wars taking place because somebody needs to sell arms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
they keep the good ones for themselves, and they sell the bad ones for the enemy. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's what they all do. That's what they all do.
Yeah. And so I was thinking about the whole notion that what will happen to the Caribbean. Somebody was warning Miss Martley, you know, about her position on what she's taking. But how do we unfold? How do we come out of this after the war is over? You know, when the war is over, when all the dust is settled, so possibly there might be more. The war might prolong for a longer period of time, because Russia is taking the time to eat that elephant one bite at a time. They're not in a hurry. They're not using the Air Force that much. They're using a little bit of it, bombing strategic parts where they want to bomb. So they gradually going into the capital city. They're almost in there now. They mop up every area around that. So that might be another 2 weeks or so. What happens to the Caribbean that depends on America, and at the same time want assistance from China, who would be a factor coming in that war, economically speaking? Because if they decide to support Russia and buy from Russia, like they're using the credit card now, they're using the Chinese credit card system to work back and forth with Russia. And would America still stop that? No, I don't think so. China could be buying up the grains and stuff from Russia. So again, how do we, if the Americans decide to put a sanction on China, right, to trade with all other parties because they support Russia, how would the Caribbean now fare after that? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't think the U.S. will. I don't think the U.S. will put any sanctions on China. I mean, coming out to that, I mean, the Chinese haven't said much about this. They've kind of like stayed pretty much on the fence, which is kind of like the position that they normally take on a lot of things. You know, so they and besides that, they have their own deals with Russia. And you know, they have agreed to buy a whole set of grain from there as well. So I don't know that they necessarily will you know, that there will necessarily be any sanctions on China. I don't even know if the Caribbean in this case is gonna feel anything one way or the other. I mean, they have issued a general statement of saying that, look, you know, people have a right to territorial, you know, sovereignty and territorial integrity. You know, the general bland statements. I think that's basically what it said. I think if the Caribbean feels anything from this, it's probably going to be kind of like the same thing that you're feeling here in the US, and I'm sure in Canada. You know, supplies of certain goods and services, the cost of things going up as a result of the increase in gas and oil prices and stuff like that. And you know, I hadn't realized that, you know, there were other things that, you know, that you know, like raw materials that they get for producing some stuff. I heard one of my friends talking about that on Kellan's show last week, and you know, she was saying that, you know, there's some things, agricultural supplies and stuff that they need to get to produce fertilizer and that kind of stuff. You know, there may be an issue with sourcing those supplies, and so it may mean, you know, that they will have to look for new sources of those supplies. But I mean, I don't anticipate there being although you never know, but I mean, I don't, yeah, I think outside of that, I don't see this having that kind of effect unless the world goes back into the kind of partition and side taking like you had when you had the Cold War in existence. You know, and when you took sides, and then you benefited from one person or the other, so you could play one person against the other. And the other thing is too, I don't know that Russia is, even if they were to get into a situation where you have a new Cold War, I don't even know if the Russians have that kind of funds and stuff to give in terms of assistance, you know, to buy friends, as happened pre the fall of the Soviet Union. You know, I don't know that they can buy friends that easily anymore.
The Soviet Union almost collapsed even before 1989. Yeah.
Right.
They had a big problem, but the only thing that kept them going was the supply and sale of the grain. Yeah.
Right.
For them. Now that you have a situation where you cut that supply to Saudi Arabia, other Middle Eastern countries now buy up the grains, you have that will be a big blow for them. Over in China, they had to pick up the slack and buy more of it because China understands population to feed as well. Yeah, and they would need as much grain as they can get, as much fuel as they need. They will need it, you know. And America being cutting off supply that oil to other sanctioning Russia sale of oil to other European countries and stuff like that. That would be another blow for those countries who need it as well. Can America supply them? No, I don't think I can supply all those people.
No, I don't even think that America is thinking of supplying anybody. I think America is looking at securing its own supplies.
Exactly, and hence
that's exactly what I think they're doing. So I mean, I don't see. But I mean, I think they were kind of like also going to try to see, you know, where their allies in Europe can also get thing. But the US at the end of the day seeks its own interest.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I think what they're doing is to go to Venezuela now and asking them to sell oil to the people that shove to sell.
Yeah. So yes, there've been these talks with Venezuela certainly to sort of get to sort of put that in place. But you know, I mean, I've heard interviews with other you know, experts and stuff in this area, and they're saying, you know, that look, even with the Venezuela thing, you know, the US doesn't necessarily need that because they can source from Mexico and other places, and not only that, they have their reserves there as well. So, you know, there are other things, you know, and I think I heard another interview with somebody, I think from Denmark, whoever was talking that they, you know, this could be a win for them as well, because, you know, they can increase their productions and sales to the other Western countries, the European countries, to sort of help make up. And I think too, I think I heard somebody said that the percentage of oil that the US gets from Russia is around 10% or less. So it's not their biggest source.
Well, what I mean, to me, what they're getting, believe it or not, is still have a hole that used to be filled that they needed for, right?
Yeah. But I think, you know, as I said, I think they could source. Let me tell you something. The US doesn't do anything unless they know where they're getting their stuff from.
Yeah.
Believe you me. This is not like these people in the Caribbean just wait until something happens and then they're looking to fix it. When the US does what it does, it already knows what it has in place and what it could do.
Somebody wrote something here. I want to read it for you. It's from WhatsApp. Leading people down the garden path, as a question. More complex than that. By far, the US/NATO forces see this trap they set for Russia as strategically key to the crushing of Russia and a trial run for taking on China. It was and is, from the US perspective, the bias for the US to reassert
hegemony
over Europe. Growing economic link with Russia, NORAD system stream to Russia, Germany growing economically in integration and destroy Russia before it could once more become a world power. What do you think about that?
Yes, I've heard that, and I am inclined to agree with the person. Yes, that this was kind of like a trap. I mean, I've seen other people say that, and they pretty much said that this was a trap that Putin literally fell into, because and one of the things they argue is that he was goaded into it as well, because he kept saying it and kept saying it. So you're kind of like in that situation where you have to respond. So yeah, that person does have a point in that. It could very well be a trap. Very well be a trap that he found himself in.
This stuff. I continue to read a lot of stuff from different political people that have been in government, that have been around government for a long time. Their writings and what they knew when they was in government and what happening, and can you get a sense of what is going on more than just listening to Western media, but people who have been politicians who were also legislators. You listen to it and read what they are written now, you realize, oops, this is what's going on. And more and more I get to read those stuff, more and more I get to understand more of what is and what should not have been, but whatever people blindside on one side and just go, like, it's like one-eyed man is king in blind man country kind of thing. So,
here's the reality, and I mean, the person is right. The reality is these powers are all vying for control, right? By any means necessary. So it's not like Russia doesn't want to control, and we know for sure that the Western NATO want to ensure that they control and expand their sphere of influence, and so do the Chinese.
Yeah.
And everybody is employing a different means. The Chinese through its Belt and Road Initiative, the US through whatever, I don't know what it is, and the Russians through whatever, that they're doing. But inevitably, these are the three spheres of influence that we have in the world today, and they're all seeking to control one way or the other. And who's going to win? I have no idea.
No one never have winners really. Especially people always loses. Yeah. Nothing that the gain is trickling down to the poor people. Really.
Exactly. Because when I sit, sometimes when I hear some people talk about Russia and stuff and everything else, and you sit down and you look, listen, Putin is not poor.
No.
And the people he has around him, they're not poor. And I mean, it's a known fact that the average Russian struggles and has always struggled historically. I mean, so it's not even that they're struggling today. I mean, just the history of Russia, you've always had a few rich people at the top and a whole set of poor people at the bottom, and as though there was no middle.
Interesting you make that point, Margaret. When the news reporters making the fact that Ukraine have a middle class society, when you look at, if you really go in and look at the Ukraine situation, there's a lot of poverty in Ukraine, as well.
Yeah. And apparently they were also, even in their move towards a more liberal society, there seemed to have been a lot of corruption, because corruption seemed to have been a big issue there as well, and and I don't think, I get a sense that prior to this whole thing, that they had their issues with the government, even if they elected this guy, but it's not that he was necessarily the most popular person there, right? But what has united that country, and I mean, he has seemed to have come into his own, and sometimes it takes crises to bring bring out the leadership elements in people. But this Russian invasion, the one thing that Ukrainians were united against was any form of Russian domination. And that's sort of like, just, it's kind of like whatever issues they had with this guy and the government and stuff, they just shoved that to the side, and everybody is like united against that one thing. But there's a large swath of poverty in that part of the world, which is not to say that you don't have poverty in the West.
Yeah, I mean, look at.
But I think my point though is that in the West, and generally you tend to have like a middle class, although that has been shrinking. And increasingly we approaching a stage where you're either very rich or you're very poor. But it seems to me, certainly from my basic history, my basic Russian history from back in the day, there's always been the very rich at the top and the very poor at the bottom, which contributed to the Russian Revolution, as you know. And certainly I don't think that changed much.
It's like Animal Farm, right?
Exactly. Classic Animal Farm.
Classic Animal Farm, right across the board.
Yes, classic Animal Farm.
That another, and the thing about it is they want to tell you, okay, whenever they establish themselves as a nation, not through an election, through violence. Yes, everyone in the cities came into being by violence. None of them go to church and pray for God to change nothing for them, right? They went, kill people, take their lands over, run, and then
conquest.
Yeah, and say, look, you cannot use arms to overthrow us now. Let's have an election. Yes, let's have an election and try to move me from power. But the power structure they set up is the military, that no matter who comes in power had to obey the military. Right? So they establish themselves and continue to rule through the military. Although they look nice and dressed in jacket and tie and suit, the military is who really control everything else. Because the military say you're going today, you're gone. Yeah, by hook or by. So the establishment of those cities and the so-called democratic processes is a lie. Because in the back end of it, you have the businessmen who wheel and deal and create the change that they want. They support who they want, they finance whatever they want, they lobby governments for whatever they want. They pay their way. They didn't do it for free. They pay their way. So when you come into power, hey, here's my deal. I come to the table now. This is what I want to happen. I want the banking, I want the interest rate to go up so I can make some money. I could establish this thing and that. I need that money in this. And that's what they do. So the poor people work for them, manage the funds for them, do everything for them, and they still end up on the table. And, I had a little conversation with a friend of mine, and I said, the average Kenyan live in poverty. Yes? And he asked me how I know, or how I know. I said, listen, if you're making $40,000 in Canada, you're living in poverty. Because if the average Canadian who have a 3-bedroom apartment or a home that's 300 is almost $3,000 a month. Yeah? Yep. An average.
For rent?
Yes.
For rent?
Yeah, a 3-bedroom apartment is $3,000. Yeah, and
you know what? Let me tell you something. It's no different in New York City, Listen, minimum wage is what, around $10, and some people are getting $15. I think the state had moved to $15 or something like that, right? An hour. But let me tell you something. Sometimes you're looking at rents anywhere $1,500 and above. Yeah. And I'm telling you, $1,500 may get you a studio apartment, right? Yeah. A 1-bedroom could be more, and as you go up, sometimes I don't think so. Listen, I wonder how some people do it. I seriously do, when you consider what the minimum wage is and what these people make. And then you understand why some people are working 18-hour days every day of the week, because holding down 2 and 3 jobs, because that is what they need to survive in the city. And sometimes the difference too between somebody, let's just look at Caribbean folk. If you're home in the Caribbean, even if you're not working, the chances are you will still get something to eat.
Yes.
Because there's a breadfruit tree outside, or a mango tree out there, or somebody may give you a hana fig or something of the sort, right?
Yeah.
You ain't have that here. No. Ain't nobody to give you.
Nobody to give you. Margaret, I did a couple years ago. I did a program calling Living Your Best Life, right? And at that seminar, what I did is to show that the average guy who making at the time was $3,500 a month, right? With one person, even with two person working in the household, that's an average of $20 a month, right? $20 an hour per household, yeah. And they have 4 children, yeah, or 3 children. To feed that family of 4 or 5 is about $1,200 a month, yeah. Mm-hmm. And that family has a car for gas. Right, they're paying for that car, right? So that's about $500 for that car. well, $500 to put gas in that car, and the insurance for another $500, $300, and a $3,000 a month income in a home. These persons have credit cards that they have to pay off the rest of the month, yeah, to survive, to live. Now, it gets even worse. When you have a single family, bringing in $2,000 a month, with 2 children in a 3-bedroom apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment, they have to get subsidies, government subsidies. Yeah. So if you don't, I think Robert C. Kiyosaki said it best. If you have good credit, borrow money to invest. That's your best option.
Yeah.
Borrow money to spend, you end up further and further down the rabbit hole.
Oh yeah. But sometimes people don't have a choice but to use that in order to survive.
Yeah.
It may very well the only means that they may be able to put food on the table in some cases. You know,
corn instead of planting it, you know what I mean? And then at the end of the day, the corn, you still run out of corn, you still run out of food, you know. So say eat half of the corn and leave the rest for later, plant the rest, you know. But the economic situation is really grim for a lot of people. It's not getting better. Those people who have houses might be in a better position to get money against the property and stuff and to invest. But those who doesn't have anything, you know.
That's exactly it. Listen, let me tell you something. Coming into New York now, I find look, because where I live here in Brooklyn, right? I remember when I first came to Brooklyn, you know, there's people wouldn't want to come over to this neighborhood was considered so rough. Nobody would want to come here. You know, you tell somebody you're living over here, they were like, oh no. Let me tell you something. You can't afford this neighborhood anymore. There's something called gentrification, and I'm sure you have the same thing in Canada as well. And that has happened, and it has sent rents and housing stock and prices out of the roof.
Well,
out of the roof.
I tell you something. 13 years ago, I bought this house here. I paid $200,000 for it. Right now, just starting price is $1.5 million. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when I told my friends, buy now, they said, no, it's too expensive at $200,000 for some houses that are smaller than mine. By the time, no, those same houses is $900,000 for them right now. And then the apartment buildings, right? If you've been in it for a long time, then your rent might be about $700. If you move from an apartment to go another one-bedroom apartment, talking about double the price for that right now. You know? So even if I have to, right now, I have to rent my basement out. Yeah, I have to rent the second floor. Right, that in itself, right there alone, 2-bedroom downstairs, fully furnished, everything is another $2,000 a month. I have to come to help supplement my income. Yeah. Because the thing about it is not getting better. The prices for everything is going up.
Yes,
you know?
very true.
People are going to go to the $120, $150 and walk away. A lot of stuff, they'll double that. $300 in just for 1 week. Yeah. Yeah. So 3, 4 is $1,200. That just for a family that have just like my family, for example. You know, talking about almost $300 a week. Yeah. To really keep us together. But there's other people who don't have that opportunity.
Exactly.
Have it. And I see it and work every day. I know what people make. You know, because I make more a lot of these people. But the point I'm trying to make is that these people have children too. And I see a brother every day. I know that they don't want to work, but they have to. Yeah, they have to, because if they stop, that's the end of it for them. You know.
But you know, and that's the thing sometimes I worry about, here's where I worry a lot. You know, those are things that I still and I think about too. What happens when you get old? And there are a lot of old people, I mean, who even if they're getting Social Security payments, it's not sufficient for them to live on, because, you know, your Social Security payments, it's also determined by what your salary was in your final years and stuff.
Yeah.
And in many cases, if you didn't make plenty of money, there's not much Social Security to come. So how are you going to live? I think about, there are a lot of people outside of there who are babysitting and stuff, right? And I mean, a lot of them want to work off the books because they don't want to pay taxes and all of that good stuff, because they figure that, you know, all of that is money getting out of their paychecks. But, you know, I often wonder what happens when you get older and you can't work no more, you know? And here's the other thing. You don't want to get sick. It takes one illness. You know, there are a lot of people who you see end up in debt and stuff, and people say, oh, this person's in debt and whatever. No, these people got sick. One illness it took to wipe them out.
Look, I tell you something, if it wasn't like when my wife got sick from cancer, and I want to say this here because I want people to realize that I'm not living that's rich. I'm not a rich person. I'm just like I'm an average person, right? When my wife got sick, if it wasn't for insurance, yeah. Imagine you just bought a house, yeah, you put all the money into it, you get it going and everything like that, what you had saved up to for down payment and stuff like that, to put that in, and then she got sick, right? She's not able to work anymore. Imagine if, and that's just 2 years after we got our landed in this country. Can you imagine if pre getting our papers? Would have been a whole set of doodle. You understand? But the point I'm trying to make is I want to encourage people, yeah? And a lot of people take life for granted. Yeah? It's not like something to take for granted.
No, not at all. Not at all.
At least right now, encouraging you to at least take out a life insurance. And most people might be disabled before they die. Yeah? So disability insurance, get one. Yeah, get a life insurance. If you have a home, get a mortgage insurance, and those things. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have that, and you, God forbid, you get sick, you die, things would not be the same for your family. If one person,
yeah. You know, it's really something that you have to think about. You know, when you have a family, you know, the things that you can do when you're a single person with no responsibility. It's one thing, but you know, when you have a family and life is so uncertain, you have to ensure that these things are prepared and put aside there in the event that you know something happens, and you know your family's not left, you know.
You know, and I you know, sometimes I kind of reflect on a lot of things. If I woulda, shoulda, you know. And most time I hear men make that statement. I want to talk to the men tonight too, because when you buy insurance, it's not about you. It's for your children that you live in and the wife that you have. Then she have choices of who she could date and who she would bring into your house with your children to grow them up. But if she doesn't have that financial security, every time or anytime she need that, she need to survive financially. She need that money to survive. And that might be into an abusive situation. Your children can be victimized in that process. She doesn't be the right person to help her through the journey.
Yeah.
Man, don't be afraid to get your insurance. It's not about you. It's for your children and the wife that you love.
Yeah.
You live for no man, look for the man, about the children. And make sure that make sure you have it, the children, the beneficiaries, and your wife get a portion of it. But don't leave it. Don't have it. Yeah, it's important.
Yeah. Very, very, very important.
Because the economic situation is not going to change. It's getting worse. Yeah, it's going to change, but it's not changing for the better.
Yeah. And if it's going to change at all, it's not going to change right now, because you see what happens. You know, it just looks like you're coming off of COVID and you're into a war situation. So you're in for the long haul.
And the majority of business people are crying out, not because they're suffering. They're saying that, but they have it up already. And that's not talking about the mama and pop business. That's about the people who supply the mama and pops. Yeah?
Oh yeah.
Go shop and enjoy the rest of their life right now. You know? And this is one thing about insurance with cash value. I think Dennis Charles spoke of it here on the show a couple of times. And those of you who are interested, on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays and Fridays, we have a financial show for those in Canada to listen and to learn something about investing in money and stuff like that, because it's important. And you know something I see happen quite often. People working hard, yes, and they have not taken out any form of insurance. And when something happens to them, they have to go to GoFundMe thing. You know, it's a great idea. It's a great stuff for that. But let's take care of business before business take care of us. You know?
Yeah. You just have to.
Necessary to have that done, because at the end of the day, you have to. I think when you're in a relationship with somebody, both people must sit down and plan this thing out well, because it's not about the husband and wife. every relationship we train is about the children future. Yeah. And given this economic downfall that we see happening, you affect families. Anybody could be affected by it in a negative way. Yeah. You have to have something that will help you, because this one that's happening there, we think it's gonna stop anytime soon. No,
no. And even if it doesn't, even if Peter and they happen to succeed in taking over the city, there's going to be an insurgency war.
Yeah. If you don't give up, I mean, if you don't kill everybody that opposes you, it will be having insurgencies. It will definitely have that. You have all those so-called Hitler type people who are there eating the military of the Ukraine government and army and stuff like that. They won't go away just on like that and say, well, take me. You know what I mean? They will fight.
Exactly.
Fight back big time. Someone changing the clothes back into civilian clothes and they realize they're losing, and they will regroup. That will do it. They will regroup.
Yeah.
I could, in 1983, we a couple of us changed back in civilian clothes, and our attempt was to hit and run, in the night. So I know from a military point of view, you could do that. To come back in the society and then make you hit and run at night wherever you need to be. And they will do that in the Ukraine. They will come back nice and they will hit strategic points again. So it's not going to benefit. Nobody really benefits from war.
No. Nobody benefits. Everybody loses. It doesn't matter. Everybody loses in a war. I mean, sometimes in my little quiet moments, I always say, why do people fight?
Yeah. Why? It's power. It's greed. It's greed. It's economic empowerment. The profit from war. It doesn't profit the poor man. Again, we talk about it again. It doesn't profit the poor person. The economic for goods and services is the big people who produce, and the middleman, the big middle distributor. He is the one that cash in from both sides. He buy cheap and sell expensive. That middleman is the man that making plenty money. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
And that doesn't trickle down to nobody else, because they will keep. I mean, imagine a company, for example, that makes $28 million. I remember one day, about 4 years ago, I was listening to the economic news, and they said that Scotiabank in the first quarter alone makes $6 billion profit. Now, come on, $6 billion profit in the first quarter. You cannot pay your bank staff $30 an hour.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, the thing with these people is that the more they get is the more they want.
Yeah. And
the level of greed is astonishing. It's astonishing. Because you're right. If they were to fit, they could have basically gave all their staff a bonus, and there'd still be how many billions in, because they certainly would not use $1 billion to give everybody a bonus.
Exactly.
And they would still have the remaining billions.
Mm-hmm. I read one executive, right, made what, $35,000 in the first hour of the day. This guy that's somebody's salary for the whole year.
What? Somebody's 35. You said $35 million, right?
$35,000 a day in the first hour of the day. He made
$35,000 in the first hour of the day. Well, let me tell you something. There are some people who are making that $35,000 or less in 1 year.
1 year.
It's taking them a whole year to make that $35,000.
I think I heard Les Brown said something, and it kind of make me wonder, because I was doing a show here, and a friend of mine called me after the show. She said, you know what you just talk about for the last hour? My company paid $1,500 for me to go to attend a Les Brown session. Yeah? That's how much the company pays for them to go to get the session. And I heard him say on a tape, the minimum to speak in a conference for 1 hour is $25,000 per the hour.
Yeah. Depending on who the speaker is, they could command that and more.
So I remember Miles Monroe said that when he was just getting into the business of not speaking in forums and stuff, he called up Les Brown and asked him how much to charge. He said, "What much you want?" He said, $5,000. Les Brown look at him and say, "You don't want no money." Only to write a check for $25,000, and then when you send in the proposal, they ask him, "Is that all?" Yeah, They asked me, is that all they're asking? And he said, he's sorry, he didn't ask for more. Yeah. You can imagine that's the kind of money that they give you for all this stuff. I remember I was asked to speak at school board, and just for 45 minutes, yeah, and they're offering you $500 because that's what the school board could offer.
Right.
Imagine if I get to speak in any one of those things bigger than this, and I learned my lesson on don't go asking for no poor man money. You know what I mean? Because they have the money to give you. Yeah? So anytime they call me, and I said, look, I have all my contracts ready up just in case. I'm ready for when they call. You know what I mean? I don't fill in the blanks with the money in it. No, because they pay plenty of money for these things and for hour, I could say a lot for an hour. You know what I mean? I've listened and I've read all these people. I have my whole speech. I made a couple of CDs and give it to one of my seminars I was having. You know, and people come and say, John, wow, this is so powerful. And I know it could be done. I made my CD. I do everything right here. I record all my stuff right here. My pre-recorded speeches, I record them in the studio and I give it out. Yeah. So people will pay for you to talk to the people and just motivating people. Right?
Exactly.
And it happens. So we have to be prepared to not just work the 9 to 5. And I want to encourage people because as the years go by, a lot of the jobs that we go to and take for granted, AI.
It's gonna wipe them out.
I see AI flipping burgers in a Burger King. Can you imagine that?
Let me tell you something. On my current job, right? I started that job in 2013. And I can tell you that a lot of the stuff that I started out doing, these things are now being done by AI.
Yeah.
They're taken over. They've been automated or whatever. And so it's a machine that's doing it. People log in and do and check or whatever. And you have to be so flexible and be able to like always pivoting. Every time, you know, it goes, a computer takes over something that you're doing, you better find something else to do. Pivot into some place where, you know, you're doing something that the computer doesn't do or cannot do.
Yeah. I used to work, I still do what I do, but there is people who, I used to work in this space, right? And spray painting kitchens, cabinets and stuff like that, right? And all of a sudden the owner decided to buy a spray system. Yeah.
Right.
So you have these sanders. You don't really need sanders again to sand people. So that some of these people get redundant. So the machine sand this stuff. Yeah. The one person stands up when they come to the tray and they feed the machine on one end. They go and they set the machine up to spray. As soon as the first board piece of dough comes inside, the machine automatically comes and starts spraying all the thing going. It goes the next time it dries and it comes on the other side. And it just one person.
Yeah.
On the rack. So instead of having 10 people doing this stuff, you have one person doing this. Yeah. So
yeah. When I came here, simple things, you know, it's amazing. Simple things. And I came here like riding the bus, right? There was the driver and there was a conductor on the bus, right? So you got on the bus and you pay the conductor and they give you a ticket, okay? Please, you ride a bus today, you walk inside, there's a little machine there, you dip your Metro card in it, pull it back out and you sit on. The driver is the only person on the bus. And I'm telling you, a generation of kids who will never, if you told them that buses used to have conductors in the United States, they look at you as though you're going crazy, right? Because they never saw that. But certainly in New York City here, ain't got no conductor on the bus. You get on the bus, you stick your card in that little machine that's right next to the driver.
Same thing Canada too.
On your way.
And what happened to the transportation industry? The Germans are building their trucks now driverless. Yeah?
Yeah.
Somebody sits in an office somewhere behind a computer desk and like a drone, send his trucks on his destination. There are loads of experiments with driverless cars and trucks going on here as well. You know, so they're going on. I mean, you've had 1 or 2 incidents where pedestrians were hit by them, but yeah, you have those things. But that is normal. Driver people with chauffeur-driven vehicles bouncing people have an accident anyways, right? So that happening is like I was saying to a friend, you have more car accidents and plane accidents, you know, every day. Yeah. drivers bounce, people car crash. There's probably 6, 7. Like on my way to work every morning, there's an accident. Without going up or coming down, somebody bouncing somebody. You know what I mean? And the plane, the same 3, 4 plane flying over the same direction.
Right.
And they don't crash in the landing, you know. So into every hour or so, you're having about 10 accidents in the city.
Exactly.
Right? And that's driver and chauffeur driven, right? So they more accurate with the driverless vehicle. You probably could sit on your car, have a coffee, read a book, and get to your destination. You know. So again, you have those kind of things happening where again you don't even need a battery operator to change the battery. You pull in and you're pulling over the ramp, and the battery come off, right, automatically, and you replace by another battery. No, not a human being touching the battery to replace in the car. You know.
Exactly.
You have to be getting ready for the revolution. It started. I will not be televised. It's true. They can make a revolution. Will not be televised. I used to go for Walmart, right? And there was about 20. Honestly, 1, 2, 3, about 10 or 15 cashiers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 4 cashiers. All the rest is things right now. And you know, burgers will be sold and it'll be flipped and wrapped and packaged. Excuse me, by AI. You understand? So all this stuff, and I tell people all the time, be prepared. The revolution is happening, and it's gonna change the way business is done, the way how we think and how we move. It's happening. So be prepared for the change. It's happening. It's happening. Changeable.
Yeah, you can change that.
And let me, before we move on, let's move on to the next topic here of discussion. And that will be a final topic. I think I'll talk to Mr. about I will talk to this lady first. Because she's my friend. I'll talk to her. She'll release my brother in the night time for one of the show. I have a serious conversation with her. She can't detain the comrade in the revolutionary period like that. Like good night.
Really? Really no.
She can't detain it. Come out tomorrow.
No, that's not allowed.
Oh, she can't do that. Today I was really surprised. I mean, what? Nah, she have to release it, brother. Yeah, so Margaret, I want to play a song and we'll go back to the we're talking about the revolution and what it has meant to us and how it has changed our lives. And to those of you listening, how has the Greener Revolution changed your life? What lessons have you learned from it that you can use and using now? Even come from a thought process to you educating other people, telling people about the revolution. What have you learned from it? How have you changed your life to live in the present situation that we're living in? One song, I'll come back to you. Where is it? I had the song up, I just changed off the stuff and gone. So let me go back. It happened to me all the time. Whenever I change the thing, I didn't change. I need as I grow in this industry, I have to get somebody to do the technical part of this stuff.
Yeah. One man banning could be a bit difficult sometimes.
Yeah, so I have to have. It's a good thing my daughter is going to college now, and that's what she's taking. You know, broadcasting and journalism and management, all this stuff. 8 different classes over a 2-year period to be able to do these things. And then, so I just happen to wait and to see what's going to happen when she finishes this thing, because it's a lot of work for one person to do. You know, it's not
yeah.
So I'm happy that I'm learning to do these things. It makes for a good classroom, so you can teach other people all this stuff, you know, to the cocoon of teach people how to do it, you know. So I've grown a lot in that area, so I know how to know my way around this now. Okay.
Master, freedom time. The people of Grenada rose with dignity, rose up from oppression, rose up from iniquity and shame, from the darkness of the situation, shaking up paralysis and corruption, tyranny, violence and subjugation, to shine out before the Caribbean and strike terror into repressive regime and scrupulous politicians, and now trembling in their hands. Stand up, Grenada, stand up again, Grenadian. Don't let nobody come in and dictate your course of action. All of them who oppose your revolution are political bandits just like you in their own island. Fight for your right. Protect what you have. You fought a good fight. Protect what you have. Don't give in a single inch. Don't retreat, not even a pinch. Don't compromise your revolution. For the scandalous teaching of massive political scams in the Caribbean. No way, never rise. No way. Some talk of legality, constitutionality, but only to expose the hypocrisy. But if you examine the state of affairs in their land, you will find human rights violations, total disregard for the Constitution, countless political persecution, and a wave of sanctioned violence with the blessing of legislative criminals and full by sadistic gangs. Just like the mongoose one, stand up, Grenada, stand up again, Grenadian. Don't let nobody come in and dictate your course of action. All of them was force your revolution. And political bandits just like you're in their own island. Fight for your right. Protect what you have. You fought a good fight now. Protect what you have. Don't give in a single inch. Don't retreat, not even a pinch. Don't compromise your revolution. For those scandalous speaking of pressing political scams in the Caribbean. No way, never I say, no way. God bless you, Grenada. May your freedom be blessed with longevity. Your economy, may grant your leaders wisdom, endurance, and courage to go on. For your road will be long and rugged. Many other problems to be confronted. God against corruption being repeated. May that rude awakening that early dawn be an example to tyrant in other land. No power or weaponry can extinguish your people's will to be free. Stand up, Grenada. Stand up again, Grenadian. Don't let nobody come in and dictate the course of action. All of them who oppose your revolution are political bandits just like you're in their own island. Fight for your right. Protect what you have. You fought a good fight. Protect what you have. Don't give in a single inch. Don't retreat, not even a pinch. Don't compromise your revolution. For the scandalous keeping of pressing political scams in the Caribbean. No way, never I say, no way.
Yes, Margaret Francis. That was a masterpiece in his days, you know.
It was.
The classical piece here. It lends support to the Ghanaian people and encourage them to support the government right through. And you know, growing up in the revolution period in Guyana, 1983, 1783, you have had a sense of patriotism, yeah? I've never seen before in Grenada. I think the people in Grenada somehow embrace a revolution that they didn't expect to happen. Yeah. When it happened, they embraced it. The benefits that they got out of it, it's not just about them at the time, but their children, the estate workers who have seen benefits come to them in the form of free school books, free uniform, free university education, free high school, everything. I want to punctuate that we're seeing that Gary have done a lot in education as well. A lot of people tend to forget that in 1977, I think it was 5 or 6 junior secondary schools was open under the Gary administration and was fully equipped, yeah, with the drafting center, library. At the time, it wasn't computer pool, but they had in junior sec Grenville, they had about 40 typewriters, yeah. In the school, they had a home economic center, right? They had a accounting and commerce room. They had a drafting room, So they have all of the woodworking center and 3 fully equipped science labs, So you have all of that going on there. That was really preparing children for the future. Today, many of the children that been to the school, including myself, turned out to be a very good tradesman. I could draw mechanical drawing, industrial drawing, all this stuff. And when I came here, I went back to school to enhance and to learn to use AutoCAD. So it makes it easier for me as well. So a number of things I do today, I go back to the enhancement of my craft. Yeah. I always have born with a gifted hand to do a number of things in the woodworking department. We're creating stuff and building stuff and stuff like that, right? A number of things I've done. The very desk I have here, that I built it myself, over since 1998, I built it this, it's standing strong,
Right.
So I have crafted, I've harnessed my craft well, but the revolution came in and many of us who was in high school at the time have enjoyed a lot of the benefits of the revolution. Our parents who have 4 and 5 children at the time, 6 children probably have to go to high school at the same time. The money is to pay for that. And those who finish high school, IFE, an example, who was given scholarship, 150 scholarship in the first 6 months of the revolution. Some of these people came back today and they are doctors from Cuba and stuff like that. So I want to hear from you folks. You can call in. And those of you who just want to write in, how did the revolution benefited you? Let's start with Margaret, because I know Margaret been around for time.
Well, let's see. I sort of came in, when I say came in, I mean, I was there, the dawn of the revolution and stuff, the morning of March 13th and all of that good stuff. But I think for me personally, I was pretty much, IFE came along, which was so we were the first generation IFE students. We were the guinea pigs. We went in when there was nothing. We were the ones that they had to take and make something out of nothing that was there. So certainly in that case, that part of it worked for me because, as you know, there were limited Form 6s. Yes. So basically, when you were done with Form 5 and O levels, if you wanted to do A levels, your choices were either come into high school, because high school had a Form 6, or going to GVSS, which also had a Form 6, right? And who else had a Form 6? They were limited Form 6s. Right. They weren't more than 2 or 3 Form 6s. I can't remember.
That was, I think most of it was Form 5 in most of the junior secondary school.
Everybody stopped at Form 5. And then if you wanted to do A levels, then you would have to go into Form 6, and which means you would have to apply to GVSS or come to Anglican High School. And I'm not sure if UEC had or not had one. I'm not sure. But there were limited Form 6s around for you to do advanced levels. So the consolidation of all your resources into one space as opposed to splitting it up all over really did make sense to do, which was basically what IFE became, because IFE was technically a Form 6. Yes. But instead of having to split resources all over, so everything was now concentrated in one place, and we were the guinea pigs, basically. So based from that perspective, that was as much as I would say on an individual level that I benefited. And then of course I started to work right after finishing Form 6 and left well, yeah, I left Grenada after, yeah. And then, of course, we had the whole demise of the revolution, sadly. And then I left right after that. But certainly, for poor people who could not afford education, and I think a lot, I'm old enough to remember that when I started high school, for example, secondary education was not free. Okay. So that meant that either you had to get a government scholarship. So there were two ways of making it into high school. If your parents couldn't afford to pay, either you passed common entrance. Well, they said scholarship in those days. So either you passed scholarship, common entrance, and you passed high enough so you got a full scholarship from government that they would then in turn pay your school fees. Or as you know, when you got to standard 7, you also did school leaving. And if you were good enough that you got a bursary scholarship, which was what they refer to that as, then you got admitted, you were able to go to high school, and government would pay for that as well when you would start at Form 3, as opposed to starting at Form 1 if you were common entrance winner, right? At the time, if you didn't pass high enough for government to give you that scholarship money to go, then your parents had to pay for you to go to high school. When I started high school at that point, I happened to be a government scholarship. So I went to school on a government scholarship because I passed. For people who didn't pass, if they wanted a high school education, when I was at African High School, the school fees was $85. Now, looking back at it, you would say, oh, $85? Eh. But if you're a poor person, $85 was not easy to come by, and you had to come by that $85 for every school term, not to mention the cost of books and everything else. So one of the very early benefits of the revolution when they came in was to make high school education universal and free. So that was kind of like one of the really great things, and it made it easy now for poor people kids to go to high schools around the island and not have to worry about whether or not they could pay for their child to go to high school. That was guaranteed, that you would get a free high school education. That was not so prior to 1979. So that was one of the very, 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 very early benefits of the revolution. And then there were all these kids too who would have wanted to go on to further education, who could not do so, but were able to do so because, again, of all the scholarships that they got from Cuba. And so they were able to go. And a lot of these kids who went were not rich people kids.
Oh, no,
they were not rich and light skinned. They were dark skinned, and in many cases they were poor. And I mean, a lot of people that I know, they were dirt poor, some of them living in houses where you could stick a hand in it any time in the night and pull them out because the wood was that rotten in the house. Okay. So that in itself was really an achievement. And you're quite right. A number of these people went back to Grenada. Some of them made their way here and have had very successful careers, have had leadership positions at the National Institutes of Health, for example, in the United States. So certainly from that perspective, those were that education was certainly one place where the revolution made its mark. I think it also made its mark in healthcare to a certain extent. Today, when I hear them talk about primary healthcare, I just laugh. Primary healthcare was one of the things that was started by the People's Revolutionary Government, whether people want to accept it or not. I know because I was working as an information officer, and it was one of the last stories that I did for Free West Indian. It was a feature story that I had done, and I covered the Ministry of Health. So I pretty much went around to a lot of these village and parish council meetings when they were discussing it and trying to explain to people what primary healthcare was and when they were going to launch it. So that again was another really achievement of the revolution. I mean, there was also achievements that in manufacturing. The whole idea of turning your local products into end products, as opposed to you supplying the raw material and then having to come back and buy it when somebody else processes it out there and stuff. So, I mean, how well we remember Spice Isle nectars. I mean, you know,
yes.
the tamarind, I don't care who say what, the tamarind was the bomb. It was the best.
The
tamarind was the best.
Tamarind was good, but I the mango I love, but I think the tamarind had changed a lot of taste, because you know you get sour tamarind, but you got tamarind that had a zest in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the tamarind was the best.
Because I think what baffled people, the number of things that was not being done was done. Yeah, and the amazement of how easy it was. It looked easy to us because it was done. Yeah. And great people will appreciate that here we are carrying our own fruits and vegetables that could have gone spoiled. Yeah. And that have changed our mindset completely, that we could do it for ourselves. And that
I think, you know, and sometimes it's kind of like the simple things. Sometimes, you know, sometimes we expect big things from things, but it's amazing how it's the little things that sometimes make life go along so easy and so smooth. And those are the things that we take for granted. And I think too, they also did a lot of little things that made life go along, you know, small changes that just made things easier for people in a lot of ways. The milk distribution program, again, that's something that people tend to forget. But for a lot of poor families, that milk meant a whole lot to them, you know. And the list could go on. You know, I think about just the ability to mobilize people to clean their communities. When you walk around Grenada today, you see just how nasty it is. I mean, and a lot of people are offended when you say that, but it's nasty. But one of the things that PRG was able to do was to mobilize people to get out and just clean.
Yes. Every time you have the self-help program going on, you have the NYO coming out, the militia coming out, the women's organization coming out. I know one of the thing about this is how the revolution was able to mobilize people in the different groups that was available. Yeah, the willingness of the different groups and the leadership. See, everything. I have this thing, Margaret. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything.
Yeah.
If the leadership is weak, everything is weak. And I go back to say this as a believer in Christ and all this stuff like that. And I'm saying disciple, because I believe that the word disciple is what is more appropriate to use in my belief and how I understand the scripture. Not Christianity, but the disciple. And Jesus was teaching the disciples about that, about management. A lot of Jesus teaching about management, you know. I go back to look at Luke chapter 16, 15, and 16. He spoke of how to manage, how to manage your resources and be accountable for the management. And every time, anywhere there ceases to be management, there is stunting of growth. Yeah. There was a overwhelming amount of leadership. Yeah. And you could have seen there was training people to take up leadership roles and to empower young people to take the wheel and to go with it, to drive that vehicle to the highest level. Yeah. So you had that in place where young people was pushing into leadership role and training them. Don't just put them, but train them and make them become the leaders that you want them to be, you know. And so doing, you have today, a lot of people have evolved out of that revolutionary cycle of leadership and taking on big roles and running government and running other institutions in Grenada.
Exactly.
I mean, look at me here. I mean, a lot of my skills that I get from the training program that we used to have at NYO training, that all this stuff have contributed to me being who I am today.
Exactly. You know, and that was the thing. There was so many opportunities too for young people to lead, which is not to say that they didn't make mistakes, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they didn't, you know, but there were many opportunities for young people to lead. And you know, and a lot of people learned a lot of things that they may not have learned otherwise. You know, they were given opportunities that they probably would not have had otherwise. I think one of the things that the Festival of the Revolution, for example, did is that it allowed you to meet so many people.
Yeah.
And I worked for all festivals of the revolution because I always worked I worked first as a liaison officer, and then I worked in the office as coordinator. So, and you just met so many people from all walks of life, from all over the world, that you were able to have a conversation with that probably in an ordinary life you just probably would not have seen or heard.
You know something about fun, because at that age that you was barely 20 years old, 22 years old. A lot of people, a lot of leadership was under 30. You know that?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of in leadership. I mean, imagine March 30, 1979. I think Hedrick was just 21 years old. You know that? He was late. 21, 2022. Yeah?
Right.
There's a young bunch of people. Maurice was 35 at that time, 30, 34, 35. Yeah, I think it was in May or something like that. So all these people, and the oldest man around them was H.A. They called H.A. the old man. Even though he was 38 years old, he was considered the old man in the organization. Can you imagine that? At 38,
right.
The old man. And today, it's about young people. You talk about 45-year-old, you talk about young people. You know what I mean? Like, really?
Right. Exactly.
Have people. I brought a question. If at 19 years they was ready to lead, he said, yeah, they was ready. They had everything in place. They had the structure put together. What they're going to do on day one, what they do in the first 100 days, they had everything down pack already. They was ready to lead. And, people people say, well, Johnny talking trash, but the thing about is today you have, I don't want to spike put anything, but you have people today who is 45 years old, 40 years old, and are talking about young leader. You know what I mean? And never been in a cockfight, to lead. But at the same time, we have to appreciate the fact that the revolution have created the avenue for a lot of us today
Yeah, it did. And I think one of the intangible things too was that for the first time you saw a certain amount of pride. By Grenadians in Grenada, a feeling of proud, they felt proud. And, for once. And I think that it started at that point because, and for me, probably I observed it as not as being non-Grenadian. I used to always wonder, well, why they're not? But that was something that you saw grow, just erupted with the revolution.
It was a spontaneous upheaval,
Yeah.
That said a lot. I think one make the revolution so strong, it wasn't about Grenada, but about the people. Yeah, what he could have done for the people. And that's why I think education was one of the strategic concern of the revolution. Yeah. It was something that they wanted to do to ensure that they educate people to liberate them. And hence the reason why the motto was still embedded in me that education is liberation. So I think when you look back at the revolution, he was educating you to liberate you. He was not trying to keep you down, but to expose you and bring you up and to train you and to make you prepare for the future. I think today, more than ever, the revolution is still being asked for. I saw a notice. I saw somebody put a flag up today. Long live the revolution and thank you, Maurice. And it tells you 43 years later, people are still talking about the gains and benefits of the revolution. And I was in a conversation about probably a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks now, asking me where are the revolutionary leaders that we had. Yeah. Somebody asked me, why the hell they can't do take part in politics anymore? Why they just sitting on the bar watching these people run the country to the ground? Why they don't come out and be part of the process and make change? And I think my reply to him was, look, they have served the time. They did what they have to do for Grenada already.
Yeah, I think their time has come and gone. And we also have to realize that I think too, I don't know. While there's probably a cross-section of Grenadians that will be fine with it, I think there's a lot of people in Grenada that will not be fine with it. And there's no need to create a whole set more antagonism than one needs to do. They had their time, as Shakespeare says, all the world's a stage. And everybody's an actor. They have their entrances and their exits. They had their entrance and their exits, and they have exited stage. So it's time for the next entrance onto the stage. You know, that time has passed. You can't go home again. As a friend always said to me, you can't go home again.
No. I think what happens over the years is that the Grenada Revolution have left, and not just a rubber stamp, you have left an imprint. You know, it have the generation that was in the revolution, their children enjoy some of the benefits of the revolution. It's hard to really erase that with any little negativity. You know, I said one the other day that if you paid attention to 1983, what happened in 1983, the nation came out, right? I mean, they came out from Morris, yes, but they came out also understanding that they need the revolution to continue. Yeah, and with that, they decided to by any means necessary, they would come out there and support it, even supported Morris to the end. Yeah, and that's what happened. So the same people are still around today. Many of them are still around today, and they're hoping that thing will change. They're crying out for change. Yes, they're asking for the change, and they're looking to see. He's some leaders, the potential leaders of the NDC, are making mention of a lot of things that the revolution we should do. You know, so that in itself is words for now. I want to see it back up with real action when the time comes. You know, because people are asking for it. Bring back this, bring back that. Let us have this going on, and let us see, you know, what would the transformation that will take place in all of this. I have a little clip you wanted to play for us. Or take a look at this.
Industrial development, no question about people looking into our culture, our identity, studying our history to see how we can change this process, how we can start holding what belongs to us within our country for our own development. And we see development coming into being within our country.
Minister of Finance Bernard Cord explained the significance of the new agro-industrial plan at the first international conference in solidarity with Free Grenada.
With 400 years of private sector in Grenada and 400 years of 8 million pounds of mangoes falling on the ground and rotting on trees throughout Grenada, it took the PRG to take those mangoes and to can and bottle them, put mango slices, mango juice, mango nectar, nutmeg jelly, tamarind juice, tamarind nectar, and all the other ranges of fruits and juices. All of them, first of all, researched, developed, perfected, and mass-produced by the People's Revolutionary Government after 400 years of private sector.
The fishing industry is another example of how British colonialism kept Grenada from developing its potential. Since the revolution, the PRG has acquired a modern fishing fleet, and men and women are being trained in fishing techniques at the new fishing school. Grenada, a country surrounded by water, found itself actually importing most of its fish and unable to feed its people properly.
What we produce here must belong to us. What's ours is ours. We don't want what Canada has, or any other country. We want what we have to be ours.
I'm responsible for the nutrition program throughout Grenada, Caribbean, and pretty Martinique. What we have done since we started is to initiate a system of nutrition assistance to each parish. Our nutrition assistants have been able to make direct contact and face-to-face contact with people in the community so that they're able to discuss what their nutritional problems are, particularly with their young children.
A campaign to eat local has been necessary because colonialism encouraged the people for generations to think that expensive imported food was better. Local foods were symbolic of poverty.
Only when we recognize the root causes of this kind of problem. Root causes in our situation lies in the the effects of imperialism and the way they want to keep us down, the way the countries who have the money, the way the countries who produce the grain, for example, which is what our people depend on. 70% of our energy intake comes from flour, and that is controlled by the United States. The export of it, the price of it, and all that, right? And people are encouraged to eat this rather than to eat what they produce. People are encouraged to continue at a low productivity level so that they continue to be the consumers of wheat.
The Caribbean is seen fundamentally, or fundamentally, as a collection of banana republics. Our people are not respected. Our stuff is dismissed. In fact, some people see us as Neanderthals.
Such arrogance has always characterized the U.S. involvement in the Caribbean.
The more than 200 interventions made by the United States, military interventions, since the 1790s, more than 100 of those interventions have been in the Caribbean.
All of these actions have been taken under the guise of fighting the spread of communism and defending the region for U.S.-style democracy.
Unmute.
Yeah. And let me go back to my original place. Yeah. All right, here we are. Well, that's a little piece of what had happened 1983, 1979, 1983.
Right.
Agro-industrial, your timbre and nectar, timbre and juice that we so love, and other things. There is no reason why it can't be done again. It could be done. It tested and tried.
No, it can be done. It just can be done. I mean, I think, which is one of the things. I think after the invasion, you had this concerted attempt to wipe out anything associated with the revolution.
Yes.
Anything associated with it. And so it didn't matter that an agro-industrial plant was a positive thing for Grenada, but it was a project of the revolution, so it had to go. You know, just bear in mind that your current prime minister is the one who took the machine parts and sold it to St. Vincent or whatever he did with it.
Yeah, somebody. Yeah. Our airline, our Batarante, would have been another thing that we'll do running through the Caribbean and stuff like that. There's some other project that was, the state farms, again, the banks. You had 3 banks, right? You had the NIS coming up. You had that project that is still enjoyed today. You had the plant, you had the Eastern Meadow project, the feeder road project, the farm road project. Number of things that was taking place in Grenada in that short time, and we find out that later on that these projects was not just, it was strategic for the Grenadian people. Everything was important to them. I think here they made it plain in the interview with Carl Lister that even the carnival was the side of carnival was a strategic planning process for the revolution. It wasn't
right.
Everything was important. Everything was seen as an important factor in the governing of Grenada. How it runs, everything was taken in a serious way. Nothing was left undone. You see what you want. They have done some wrong things, yes. And understand. They have made some wrong moves, but at the same time, when you think about it, I'm not making an excuse for them or for us, revolutionaries, But a number of things that was done was to safeguard the revolution itself. It's funny that it ended up turning and having the internal struggles and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is there was an attempt by several people to go through the process to turn it around. And
yeah.
You can't deny that it was happening. They was doing it. So at the end of the day, we have done a lot and yet to be matched, in the last 40 years to be matched up with. So I still say kudos to the leadership at the time for what they have done. They have created a system of popular democracy in the process and still unmatchable. Leaders were held accountable for what they do by the people of Grenada. And now you have a different kind of situation, called the Westminster type democracy, where even that too, is questionable today. How effective and efficient is it?
I think that really and truly that every system is designed for wherever it is. I'm not sure that Westminster was designed for us. Us in the Caribbean coming out of whatever. I think we should have formed, I don't know what form it would have taken, but probably we should have created our own systems. Just my thinking. I think that, people talk about corruption in the region and stuff, and corruption not just there, but certainly if you look across Africa and stuff, you see kind of like same levels of corruption. But I think the question that we need to ask is, what do all these countries have in common? They were all former colonies of corrupt systems to begin with. Yes. And so when they began to chart their own destinies from coming under their colonial masters, they pretty much used whatever systems were there in place. Those systems were already corrupt. So they inherited that corruption. And of course, we have the knack to just take it to the extreme. So they took something that was already corrupt and just took it to the extreme. So, people walk around looking at these systems with through rose-colored glasses and talk about it. But no, they were corrupt. The colonialists were corrupt.
It's true. There is not. Look at what.
So it's to use one of your religious symbolisms and sayings. Yeah. They talk about the building the house on the sand and building the house on the rock. Mm-hmm. Well, if you choose to build a house on the sand, it's going to crumble. And you got to look at those systems. If they were corrupt and you build on a corrupt system, obviously you're going to have a faulty, corrupt system. And that's basically what we did. We got constitutions that these people put on us. Yeah. It wasn't constitutions that we sat and developed that was in our own interest and based on whatever our things is. You became independent. But they said this was your constitution, and you had to think it. And the reality is, if you took all the constitutions from Trinidad in the south to Jamaica in the north, and you compare every single one of them, my bet is, with very few changes, with some of which Trinidad certainly probably would have made, and maybe Barbados now that they've gone into republic status, pretty much the constitutions say the same thing. The Eastern Caribbean, that's for sure. The constitutions from Grenada all the way up to Montserrat, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Dominica, St. Kitts, Nevis, they all, if you read the it's like a carbon copy of each. All that we have done is just change the name of the island. Yep. So you basically, it's kind of like, you do a merge document. In these days, so you have a form of certain things that you want in there. So you want a name in there, you want an address in there, you want whatever is in there. So that will change for each individual, but it's the same document. And when you merge it, all that changes is just the name of each individual that is going to. That's all that's different. So in the case of Grenada, you had the same document. So we just switched the name out, we put Grenada. When St. Vincent became independent, we just switched out the name Grenada, we put St. Vincent. And that's basically what happened. They all they read the same, they do the same thing.
I remember Bernard being here on the show, and they had certain changes they wanted in the constitution that was handed to them, right? And they had made certain changes that they wanted, unlike St. Vincent and Grenadines and stuff like that. They wanted different. particularly was making mention of that here on the show. And one of the things that was going to happen, if there was we were going to go to England blindly, because Gary had a different thing up his sleeve to add to the constitution that they didn't know about. And someone from Gary camp came to Bowen by night. He always talked about Nicodemus, came by him by night and handed him the document that Gary was going to pass to put into the constitution to protect him and give him ruler for life in Grenada, you know. So that was one thing, and a number of things that was changed. In other words, once you're a child of a Grenadian, you automatically become a Grenadian. You don't have to apply for it again with a mother. I think mother, father, you become that child, that citizen of Grenada. So my daughter is automatically a Grenadian, even though she don't apply for it. She just get a passport. I think unlike other Caribbean countries that to apply for that, Grenada doesn't have to apply for it. So that's one of the good little changes that was made there. But in everything else, I think that Grenada really do need to revisit in a serious way and do a constitution for themselves. But
I think that's true, not just for them, but totally up and down the Caribbean. Because what is there, it really doesn't work. And not only that too, I think that's the other thing too. Constitutions should really be revisited and amended from time to time because times change. What was true, let's look at Grenada. Grenada became independent in 1974. What was true in 1974 is no longer true in 2022. It's not true.
Yeah. The notion that we need to change everything, it kind of a far-fetched from me, but one of the things I see that what they try to do, I think the reason why the constitution did not get the pass or get the vote he wanted, they put certain things in a group instead of putting by itself, they know it wouldn't pass. So they put certain things under something that you want. Yeah. So if you all that come under it, I think that's one of the biggest negatives that turns out. And that's why I said one of the things I said, if the LNP had really win this election the way they should talk about winning it, the people didn't come out and vote for in their favor. In that referendum, yeah, they show that look, we do not want that, and there's somebody else went out to vote on it, and they vote against it. You know what I mean? Right. So it shows.
And here's the thing, I don't know. For me, I've always argued that whole thing was designed to fail. Yeah. I do not think that NNP was sincere about that, and I think that they worked to get people to and I think the electorate was savvy enough to determine that was a setup.
Yeah.
That's just me and my thinking. I think it was designed to fail. Listen, you could design things to fail. You know? People can say that they want something, and you could tell them, you agree with them, and in the back, you literally working to undermine it.
Yeah, it happened. But also I know this happened, and I people message John. I've talked about it here with my wife, and I talked with other people that have political maturity. And, because I understand a lot of this politics and behind the scene working and seen and heard, trained to certain things. And there's some people that died after the referendum failed. They just catch heart attacks and they die. I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, this is a trademark of next time around, we don't want you to be here. You know what I mean? So I'm not accusing anybody of doing anything. It's funny how those people who was stalwarts in the making sure this didn't come to fruition end up dying right after, like a couple months after that.
Right.
One particular person I saw was very vigilant and really up and around. In that and then he ended up dying about 6 months later. You know what I mean? And a number of other persons end up dying. I watched something happen in Grenada. Might say, John, you're a conspiracy theorist, right? But when you look back and you see something with certain trillion died one after the other, you see you have 5 doctors dying in a row right after the other. What's happening with that? You know what I mean? It reminds me of the old Soviet Union, when you have all the Soviet leaders just dying attack right after the other until you come to what's the guy name? The guy with the mole on the head. The Russian president,
who the Russian president?
Yeah, that came with the mole on his head. What's his name again?
Oh, Gorbachev.
Gorbachev, yeah. Until they get to Gorbachev, yeah, and then he dismantled the Soviet Union and then hired to a drunk, which is Boris Yeltsin, who's a vodka drinking.
Yeah.
sign a deal with with America to get rid of Wasser Park, and then that never happened. You know what I mean?
Hey, you never know, anything is possible. I always say, well, I guess too, I'm trained to be that way. I mean, as a trained journalist, you train to be that way, that they must always maintain some measure of skepticism.
Yeah, you have to.
Skepticism is healthy. So, I always say to people that I always reserve 5% of my brain for doubt.
You have to.
Because, if you don't, because, anything is possible.
Yeah. And
anything is possible.
People, a lot of the conspiracy theories used to be conspiracy theories. Now people start thinking, wow, I think these people was right. You know what I mean? Because you see, sometimes when you sit on the mountain, I've been to a certain place before, and you see the bears started moving out of the region where they used to be, the ice, there's going to be an avalanche, so let me get out. So you start thinking about it and say, wow, I gotta get out of here before it's too late. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. All this stuff, you have to be mindful. When you see, like, for example, I watching something happening in Canada here right now. Okay, there's a federal election coming up. Yeah, a lot of conservative MPs they said they're not going to run again. Something is wrong. The Hods cannot be living the while and running like this. You know what I mean? Something is happening. You have to think that why are they all them want to resign? Why are they not running again? Like, really? Why are they leaving the Conservative Party and saying, no, I'm not going to run again next election? They come out of COVID, everything fine, and now you're having the premier now offering like from next week. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
No more registration for your vehicle, paying for registration of your vehicle. It's free now. Can you imagine how much money at $100 every day for 1 million vehicles? Yeah? Now, that is no longer a cost for you. Now, understand you have to pay for your license plate, the stickers are going to plate, the paperwork for the paper piece of portion of your ownership of the car. All these things now are free.
Let me ask, what did they just come up and say they were going to do that? Was there a movement? Was there a reason?
No, we just say it come in the news and not only that they're doing, they backtrack in 2 years. So from 2020, those who pay, like myself, who bought my license, pay for my license sticker in 2020, I'll be getting a refund. So you might have with vehicles getting a refund. So how much money, $1 million coming back, leaving the government coffers, and now that they would not be receiving as of next week. Millions of dollars. So who paying that? People like me, the homeowner, they will be taxed. I think they tax them by $40. Again. So think about it. And now they're saying that if you sell a house, they only tax, on the equity that a portion of the sale of the house. So think about it. Government giving you free one and then taking back on the other end.
Well, so, there's no such thing as a free lunch. And and if you get a benefit here, believe you me, it's coming out from somewhere else. Yeah. I think that's just a given, but because look, everything has a cost.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is free.
Nothing is free.
There's a cost. I mean, it's just the nature of things. There is a cost to every single thing you do. So there's nothing free, and people come out and they're looking for everything free. No, nothing is free.
Free lunch. There's no free lunch. And next, I tell my friend, don't be surprised. By 2023, 24, they'll say, okay, no more property tax. You know what I mean? Yeah, no more property tax. It's amazing how things are going. And I happen to be in this place, and I've seen a lot of changes taking place. A lot of people, I talk to my daughter, talk to my wife about things I see happening, things that changes. And there's one, I'm trying to put a project together here for the future. I see something happening. And I think they start doing this is what may happen. So what I'm trying to do is to prepare myself for what's going to happen. Whether it come in my life or not, I believe it's going to happen. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Also, I have an eyes, and I just looking at, you see, they say action speak louder than words, eh? So you have to hear with your eyes, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And when you see all in Lion King, yeah, when all the all those antelopes or whatever antelopes or whatever we call them,
Right.
you know something is wrong behind it, something happening. So everybody moving south, you know what I mean? And
Right.
I see everybody moving south. So I started to get I'm not panicking, I was getting prepared. You know?
Yeah. That makes sense.
I don't want to get caught like with everybody and say, well, I didn't know that I didn't know that coming. I didn't see it coming at all. After reading the book Who Moved My Cheese, and if you ever read that book.
Yes, but a long time ago, and I think I have a copy here somewhere.
Who Moved My have changed my perception of things in America, you know, because we go into a place every day and the cheese getting smaller because you reach and touch it, you think it's a full box that is there. There is no cheese behind it.
Exactly.
Cheese is getting smaller, Margaret, you know?
It is. There's a whole lot more people grasping at that cheese.
Yeah. And those who walk away from the cheese now and go to the new maize, you'll find yourself getting better cheese, you know, bigger pieces, you know. So you gotta start preparing to walk out on the maize, because I'm telling you, if you go in there every day, I expect you could be there tomorrow morning, but be surprised and say, well, why you do that to me? I come here every day, you know, everybody, I've been nice to everybody. How can you do that to me? It could happen to anybody.
Exactly.
Anybody could happen to. So I'm always warning people, be prepared for the event that will come that you don't know about yet. So because things happen, Margaret, you know, and one of the things about what I say, like even reflecting on the revolution, many people get caught up, was not prepared for the eventuality that really happens, yeah?
Right.
For some people that was their pride and joy, and that was it. But they were not prepared to adapt for the change that happened. Yeah. And a lot of people, you know, got sick out of it. I remember last year we were doing anniversary thing, and a woman wrote in and was complaining about, oh, my brother got sick out of this thing, but I know her brother to be drinking long before that happened. You know what I mean? Even when he was in the army drinking. You know what I mean?
He got sick when? After the demise of the revolution?
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
A number of people that got sick after the revolution. A lot of soldiers who, for some reason.
Yeah. And that would make sense, because if you put all your hopes and dreams in something and you believe in something, and, you know, and it crumbles, especially the way that the revolution did, you know, I mean, it just imploded in such spectacular fashion. You know, there was such confusion and when I say confusion, I mean, I'm talking confusion in the classical sense, not how we refer to it, you know, somebody like confusion. No, people were confused. Nobody knew for sure what was going on. There were all of these rumors, you know, you just didn't know. There was such uncertainty, you know, and then 1 minute you were here, next minute it was gone. I mean, I could not believe how everything just blew up. I vividly remember where I was on October 19th.
You know, I've been inside of this thing, yeah, and I've seen a lot of stuff and heard a lot of stuff. And you know, the morning of October 19th, yeah, there was supposed to be a meeting of the heads to resolve this thing. Everybody argued upon it, you know. Everybody argued to return to normal, to let things go as it was. And all of a sudden, this whole thing just turned differently. The one side was waiting to come to the table, and the other side was negotiating and planning something different on the other side. You know what I mean?
Well, you see, but here's the thing too, right? I mean, I'm not sure about who was negotiating what, but I will tell you, I was in St. George's the morning of the 19th. I was in St. George's very early that morning, and I can tell you that a lot of what happened in St. George's was very spontaneous and totally not at the organization that anybody, was totally spontaneous, because I think at that point, so much rumors were circulating and people were just, I think people just had it and they wanted answers and they couldn't get it. And the rumors were just going, and it was just like a spontaneous combustion in the middle of town. I mean, because at that point, I mean, there were just so many changes, because we had gone away. We had gone to, so they had sent a group of us off to Jamaica for training at Caramac. And so by the time this thing started working up top, we were outside. So when we came back in, there were all of these things circulating, and then they had changed up GIS, pretty much disbanded GIS, sort of. They had fired some people who they were not supposed to fire and couldn't fire because these were public workers. You could not fire, you were not supposed to fire a public worker, or you couldn't. And some of us did send down to West Indian. So I was down at Free West Indian. So basically, I was not going down to Butler House anymore. I was going straight to Hillsborough Street. So that's the reason why I was in town early that morning. Right. And I got into the paper and everybody was milling around. Nothing was happening. And the air was thick with the tension. You feel that there's tension around you. You can't see it, but it's there, Yeah. And I remember, we left the office, come out on the street, walk around, and, the school kids started coming down, convent kids just left school. Kids started coming down. They were just coming, and then people start, and, of course, rumors are flying. And I remember when the kids came down, then they came down and they met Uni. Uni was in town. Because I remember seeing him and he had joined with the convent kids who had left convent and came down to town, and they were going back up St. John Street. And then, there were more people coming in. Then like around 11, you had all the kids from Grand, and by which time now, people are making phone calls. I remember that well, because we're standing like in the middle, at one point I was at the intersection of Granby's and Halifax, right? And then somebody called and said, oh, Grenville is coming down. The kids from SAS, they take the buses and they're coming down. And So you were hearing all of these rumors that people are coming from here, people are coming from there, and people are coming from wherever. And I remember when those NIS buses came down in town with the kids from the SAS kids that came down. I mean, the buses screeched, they came in, and all of these kids from the country came down. I mean, literally, these kids came down to town. Yeah, they were there. I went up. I was part of the crowd that went up to Mount Weddell too, because when the crowd decided that they were going up, we went up. And I remembered very well that when we got to right in front of Bernard's house, because you know how it was. So Bernard's house was there. You would meet Bernard's house, and then you get up in the level flat and into where Morris was, right? And
that's where I lived.
So I remembered when we got in the street of that house, they fired off bullets. And you see, I was a cadet, so I know live rounds when I hear live rounds. So they didn't fire at people, but they fired off live rounds. Yeah. And people started to run. And I remember a friend of mine was walking up with me, and she turned and she said, "No, don't run. They will not fire on the people. They won't fire on the people," because nobody believed that anybody would fire on anybody. They were going to rescue Morris. But when I got there and when I heard those shots went off, and this crowd got kind of like taken for a while, I decided I was not going to go further. So what I did, I walked back down and I stayed right at the entrance, the bottom entrance above government gate. So you would come out there, right to the road top. So you come back down from Mount Weldale and you just stay right in the road there. Right? Right. So, actually, because remember, Jackie was living in that house. Jackie was living in the house. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I came back down and I stood right on the side there, so that when they brought Morris down, the last time I saw Morris alive was in that big green army truck. Morris, I glimpsed him sitting in the front of the truck. They came down, they turned, went down Lucas Street. And then a group of us, we were going back down Lucas Street. We seen people say, yeah, we free Morris, they got Morris and stuff and whatnot and everything else. And then, we went back down to town. People were still milling around, and they started setting up in the market because they said Morris was going to come and address the people and stuff. And they started setting up in the market. I remember that's when I heard Norris Bain was killed. I was shocked because the last time I saw Norris was in the market because he was waiting in the market. And I remembered I left. So I was there, people going up on the fort. And, you kind of like want to know what's going on. I'm milling around in front of the market square there, thing right on Halifax Street by the supermarket. And I'm milling around there and stuff. And I'm looking for company to go up to the fort, right? I said, if I get somebody, I would go. and nobody wants to go. So eventually, I'm not kidding you. Eventually, I decide, company or no company, I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
As I left walking, I got right at the corner of Halifax and Granby's. I didn't even get to cross over to the other side of Granby Street. I reached right on the corner by where Farm and Garden is there.
Yeah.
So I reached right there. I didn't even cross to the other side. I hear boom. That was the first thing on the foot. So instead of going in that direction, I turned onto Granby Street and walked to the Esplanade.
Wow.
And when I got to the Esplanade, I could see the people skating on that side, skating down on the side of the fort, trying to come down and come down on that side.
Well, a lot of stuff has happened, and things happen so fast, my friend. I tell you, from my vantage point, where I was at the time, what happened there. I remember the morning, not just the morning, the week before, before Fitzroy Bain got arrested the evening. He came to see Morris and wanted to go inside. And as he come, I said, look, you're not allowed to go inside. You're not able to see Morris, right? That was my thing. I was told to let him know that he can't go in. He started cussing real bad. And he said, I'm in the masses. We're going to arm the masses tomorrow. We go blood go run like water. That's what he said. And immediately they arrested him, detained him for that during that time. They arrested him in that thing. Then Vincent came up the next day and wanted to see Morris. And I never forget, I was asked to accompany him to his house. And I think probably they thought, well, this guy is too young to handle this guy. So they got somebody with more ranks than me. And sort of in terms of the military, my supervisor. Yeah. They got him to go accompany him to his place and stuff like that. When they got to his man's house, he had more weapon than than he allotted to have. So they had detained him then for that too as well. On the day in question, I remember the morning there was also a meeting of the party top brass. Yes, it was supposed to be from I think it was 9 o'clock or so. The meeting was to start, and after that, the whole thing changed altogether. And I tell you something, there's a guy named Bernard James, I never forget that. He used to be selling security, but then they moved him to personal special unit operations. And he was in the crowd. And he came back and he said, he ran back up the field, breathless, saying, Union and them planning to go to PS to take the arms in PS. So we went there, asked us to go and take it out from there and bring it to Region 1. We went and we did that. And so we drove off. The two cars came up there to the intention to go in the armory and take weapons. We already move out all the weapons and go with it. That happened, and we went to Region 1. We came back down, and then the advice was to remove Bernard from his house and take him to a secure location, which was eventually took him to Region 1. Yeah, took him there. But all of that happened, and the things have escalated so fast. Nobody was preparing for this. And then in the middle of all of that, when we got up there was a phone call came up on the phone, and it was from Dorset Peters. And I happened to be passing by after talking to Peter St. Paul that same day. He was in a box of ammunition, handcuffed. He never knew Bowen was there. Only when he saw us, they knew that we was operative guys working with Bowen that day. And we asked him about what's going on, man. What's going on with Morris and you guys there? And he told me that Morris screwed up Morris. And I started criticizing Morris right there. I mean, 4 of us had him, we just questioned him, just started with it. And then I left him and I walking go because Alison said, Kelly, is a phone call for one of you guys from personal security. I said, okay. Who did? He said, that's it, Peter. So I pick up the phone and say, come here, what's up? He said, look at what I'm planning to do. Right? I said, who, man? And the same time, you only walk in and he take the phone from me. He asked who it is. I said, come here, Callis. He said, come here, Callis, I want all of volume to surrender to the nearest police station or face your guy's death. I said, excuse me? He said, I'm doing you a favor. Surrender to the nearest police station and face your guy's death. He said, no more negotiation, no more compromising. So I easily said, hold on, I want to get somebody else, so when I told Rodriguez James, I think there was a message that we need to convey to the man in the room. Yeah. And with that being said, I think it was Hedik that came out. I remember, yeah, Hedik came out. And he told me the same thing. Yeah. And whatever happened thereafter, the whole thing changed, man. the thing just changed, and I was like white on rice, just it just escalated, boom, and a lot of people still asking questions, people still need answers, and it's as much as it is what it is. For me, I was able to adjust, and merge back into society. You learn survival tactics, just learn how to survive, and life is not, to me, life is what you make it. It's what you happen to you after you fall down. If you stay down and you're wallowing, what happened to you, you always remain there. For me, I always believe there's a better way up. There's always a way out. There's always things that evolve. I always believe in evolution. People have to change and adapt as they go along. And if you don't change and adapting, you'll be stuck where you are. So for me,
for me, I was so angry. I was so angry. I didn't want to see any one of those guys. I mean, I'm telling you, I didn't want to see none of you guys. I'm telling you, because I was like really, 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 really. And I think what made it thing too is that I didn't realize that Morrison Day would kill. I didn't know Morrison Day would kill until the next morning. Because I got home and I was so thing, and I mean, there were people that were worried of me. So I had people calling from all over the Caribbean to find out what was going on. They were just so worried, all your media friends and stuff. And besides that, we had just come back from Canada, and I also from Jamaica as well. So they were all calling to find out. I also remember, Gail Rizzo, the morning after the curfew was lifted. I never forget. I walked into NCB. I ran into Gail, and she was going into NCB because they were going to withdraw their funds from the bank. And she said, Margaret, if you need us, you know where we are.
And for me, when at the time after the thing on the fort, right, the America came up on Region 1 at the back end, and we was able to see it. We were right there when he came up, and we saw what looked like Morris, but was Bob Evans. They look similar. Look, his cousin. They look alike. Hey, well, we as personal security men was like, okay, Morris is here, and they will negotiate this thing over, not knowing that Morris was killed. So we're still excited about this whole thing that now they'll get to talk about this stuff and things like that. When they came out, wasn't Morris, was Bob Evans, and then the guys returned from the fort, and everything got unfolding, and
Yeah, I didn't know until I got up the morning, because I got home the night. I mean, and let me tell you something. St. George's cleared so quickly, you would not believe. That place became like a ghost town in the space of an hour. I'll never forget that. Never, ever, ever forget that afternoon. And because I remember there was this kid from Montrose. He used to be in security too. He was with Morrison Day original, so he and Lala and Day. And I remember seeing him, Indian kid. Gosh, he was a Kapoor, I think. Anyway.
Issue? The Indian guy?
Yeah.
He took Nolan James' weapon from him. And that's the weapon he used to kill Osimez, Yeah. He shot Osimez on the truck and their own vehicle. So that was another thing. A lot of people don't know what happened. There's a guy who came on this show, not on this particular show, but on Gemfm, and he said that when he got up to the fort, he saw Vincent were handing out weapons, and he walked away. He said, "See that? I'm out of here. That there will be blood running here today. I want to be in that." So he left. And see, because we done and the coroner is going across to hear this thing. See that? He started running. He said that is trouble. Yeah.
And and the thing is, so between the point that I heard the first boom and stuff, and they saw people scattering from on the fort and all of that stuff, and they kind of like went quiet, and then like it must have been like about 20 minutes or so after, there was a blast of gunfire, and then everything went quiet.
I think this was really quick, because with time Osimez got shot, I mean, people don't even thinking about that shot went off. Two soldiers got killed on the armored vehicle going up. Another two got injured. That Baron Cameron and Simon. Cameron got shot in the chest. Baron got shot in the leg. and Osimes and Connie Mays and what's it? Somebody, I can't remember the guy name. They shot them. Yeah, kill on the armored vehicle. And you know, if people when you're military, when you go using an armored vehicle, and you're on top of it, you're coming in peace. You're not coming in war. Because if you come in war, you'll be inside, right? The intention was never to fire on people when that came in. But when they get fired upon, then the thing changed. So when you hear the big bang, what happened after effect, what happened after. When you hear like all the bustling and things, people don't pay attention, people don't focus on Morris and what's going on, what's going to happen next. When they hear Morris speak, people just concerned about that. Yeah. And then that young guy, you know, he left, and I mean, he's in New York now, New York area, and a lot of people who saw him shooting, saw him shot Osimes and stuff like that. There's a lot of story behind this young man, you know, why he was there, why he was involved in this whole thing, and why Osimes was the victim of that day. But at the end of the day, man, we lost a revolution. You know what I mean? We lost a lot. Graham people had lost a lot, and we can't go just saying that it's not something that we could regain right now. But some of the processes that had gone through have left a mark on the minds of our people. You know,
indeed.
Achievements of the revolution can't be compared to any other Caribbean country. You know, in the 4.5 years, we have set a standard that yet to be matched up with. You know, and people say, well, what are you talking about? You know, everything was I think it was Toru said it. Is an experimental revolution. You know what I mean? I didn't say the exact words, but you know, and something always say that what things are struggling to get happening now in the parliamentary democracy. In the revolution time, we don't have no parliament to decide what. You know what I mean? We decide to go and happen. You know, we don't talk shop. We say it's gonna be done. We have a plan. It's gonna happen. You know, I put people to work to it and get it done. There's no kind of a what do you call this human rights organization and this society for cruelty to dumb animals and all these environmentalists. If something have to be done, it will be done. You know what I mean? And no lobbying didn't take place by no multinational corporation. They had a plan to get this done. The pig farm was a project. The housing project was going on. The road project, there's no question where the money coming from. It was coming, and they budget for it and they work it, and that was happening. It's just making it happen. You know, and one of the things that I think what happened with Graham, when they see this happening, I think one of the miscalculation in 1980 when the bomb went off was thinking that the revolution was at its weak point, and to further weaken it is to kill the leaders and to destabilize to demoralize the people. But what they have done, they have created a new sort of awareness and support for the revolution. More people join the militia. More people get involved in the army. You know what I mean? So it was a miscalculated move that they tried to bomb the place up. And I spoke to a guy last 2 weeks ago who told me that he was part of the movement that was seeking to destroy, not for any good reason, just to destabilize the revolution. They were just doing these things, you know, and they had planned. The first bomb was in Fort Pache, it didn't go off. The second one, I think, was in Simon, a Hurricane rally. It didn't go off, and the third one really actually go off in fact. So all of this working was done to destabilize the revolution, and not because there was superly intelligent people willing to become or to go into power to do anything, just because who they were and the powers that was among them that was being used and allowed to function the way they function and they supported by outside forces to do what they was doing, you know, like with the Stanley Charles and the Stanley Cyrus, not Stanley Charles, excuse me, sorry, but Stanley Cyrus and all other people, and they was doing their thing, you know, being supported by the CIA and all that kind of stuff. So that's fancy, a lot of people. I think one of the famous brother had promised to tell us in one of his posting that he will tell us who give them the training and the financing for the activities, but it happened. Common sense prevail that there is no sunset clause and mother. You know what I mean? And if so somebody had to, probably somebody has spoken to him and say, look, you take down that post. You know what I mean? Because somebody with a good lawyer will come after you. So Yeah, so he only post. Looking for the post. He had at one point he get off the Facebook, and he come up and he renew again the page, and a new page with his name on it, and remove all the old stuff he had there. Because once you say that, you know, and who give you finances and everything, you open the case.
Yeah.
For murder, and they could be charged for murder in this, you know. So again, you can't just go and say, well, I did it, we get financing and so and make that a big thing because, you know, you have the government behind you. Somebody could take you to the national court for crimes against humanity for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's not and then walk away from it. It ain't gonna happen. People will come after you. The families of those people who lost children, they come after you for it. You know, and don't be surprised. Some grandchild, you go and he see that and read that somewhere. They come after you to pay for it. You know?
Yeah. Definitely.
Trust me. If you don't pay the time for it, you have to pay the time for it afterwards. You come in.
Yeah, that's for sure.
11:01.
Yes, sir.
It's been a plum pleasing pleasure as well as have you here with me again. I know nobody's complaining about that. I only have men on my show. I'm feeling so happy that I had you here tonight. Because they're saying only men, you always have women. Where's the women perspective? Where's the woman? And also, Margaret, I hope you'll be
true.
You're going now? Yeah. Okay, let me see what you're going with. I want to see what you're leaving with. I want to make sure that when anything happens, I know what you're looking for. My daughter is leaving, 19-year-old, first time. First party for the first party, Margaret.
Hello. Woo, she looks all cute. All cute. Look at her.
Going up to the first party with her friends.
Well, have fun and be safe. Okay.
And she has on her mother's jacket, her late mother's jacket.
How do you know? So matches my leather pants.
Yes, there's her pants. Yeah, all up and you know so.
Bye.
So please, our time still remains.
No. Bye.
Yeah. Hey, what kind? Okay. Okay, I know she going. Yeah. So her first time going out with her friends. You know, so they have to loosen up sometimes. You know, things you don't want to.
Yeah. You have to.
She did, right?
She'll be fine. She'll be fine.
I have to go to this party on the 12th. And I said, why are you expecting to go to the party at 6 o'clock and come back by 10:30, 11 o'clock? She should go home by now. And now she just leave it and go to it. The time you expect she to be back home is that
how you expect a 19-year-old to leave at 6 o'clock and come back at 10? I know you're out of your mind.
Hold on now. So she said that I'll be back by 2 o'clock, okay? I said, what? To who? Come on, lady.
Let me ask you something.
All right.
What time you used to get home from party?
I didn't go to party. I was not a party person. Her mother is the person that brought me out to a party with her family. The first time I really went to a real party to dance with somebody was my wife when I just went home for her. It was a Bosco harvest, and the father said to me, "We're going party tonight, you know, John. You're going on at your home because I know your mother goes to church." You know, I mean, I come from the army already. I'm a big man on my own, but you know, I still go to church with my mom and son. But so after that same weekend, I went home for my wife then, and there was Bosco harvest, and he said, "We're going. All of us going to party. You know, only mother will not stay home. Everybody, brother, sister-in-law, everybody going to party. He said, you can go home. You go with us." And that's how I wanted to take it over. So I'm thinking now, after 2 more, I have to head to Paradise, walking, because there's no ride.
No. So wait, you walk from Birch Grove? Where was she from?
Upper Capital, St. James.
And where was the party?
In Birch Grove Community Center.
Okay, so you walk from there to
so
Paradise?
No, well, here if I no, you ain't going home. You cannot sleep in my house tonight. So that's the first time I slept by my girlfriend. Yeah.
Right.
And then so that was the Sunday, the Saturday night, so the Sunday night dance, Travis dance, you know, and I say, okay, well, Monday morning I take the bus to go down. Then come after the morning he went out early, very early, and the night he asked my late wife, so where's John? Oh, John gone home. So what do you mean you don't stay here? My father want me to come and stay. He said, once you come part of his family, you have to be here. So after over a period of time, I said, go up, spend the weekend and come down. I said, no, you don't have to go back home. You can stay here. And no, the reason why he wanted me to stay there, that he does not be in the house, so there had to be a man in the house. So I was
okay. So you would, all right.
You know, my father took care of me for everything. You know, I remember I still love this man still, you know. He was very funny. I don't know if you probably heard about the Mr. Wilby. He wrote, if my memory serves me right, he wrote one of the Gary songs. He's a secret police too for Gary. I think he wrote one of his songs, Steady, Uncle Steady. And that. He was really great, a really strong Gary. So when I went to my wife, you know what he said to me? He said, if he wasn't this PRA thing, he couldn't come to my house. Oh my word. So we had good fun. You know, and when my finger I lost a piece of my finger, and when he heard about it, he went to the hospital, Maryborough Hospital. He sent Mr. X's mother to the hospital this Saturday evening. He said, your father sent me to you. He said he wanted the prescription for your medication. I said, the doctor didn't come up yet. You know, Dr. Tandra didn't come in. He said, she said, well, I'm gonna wait for it. When he come and wait. She wait for the prescription, for the painkillers to get for my father to fill it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I said to myself, look at this man. He take good interest in me. Somebody make a statement about me one time about, oh, he's a cool man. He said, I don't care. This is my son-in-law now. Stop talking about it. You know what I mean? No, you couldn't say anything bad about me anymore. His sister had a negative, very negative thing about me because she woke with Bean, right? She woke upstairs Bean, and she was like, it ain't happening. You don't know my niece. My wife, father, put her in a place. He said, get the man for herself. She don't have she own. Oh my God. My father was a character by himself. He was.
Yeah, he sounds like one.
I remember my wife camping for NMP. Yeah, go and doing all this stuff for NMP, and NMP win the election, and they going down Grenville, and he driving. He and his other Gary had friend and stuff like that. So we walking down. He stopped him. He said, "No, get a ride. Who you vote for? Let him give you a ride to go to Grenville to stop on." He said, "No, I'm giving you no ride." You know, we were almost walking down to go to Grenville to celebrate the victory. And he and his good man is strong. They had something going on with strong. He said, I'm not giving you guys no ride. Walk. But he was all funny. He was all funny. There's stories about him after the invasion and stuff. He drove his car down the hill, and when people say, will you okay? He put the cigarette just like in the car. The car mash up and he on the car. He didn't get no injury. This way he can pull up a cigarette and just start smoking in the car. Oh my God, Mr. Wilby. So he's a funny man, really, really funny man, a really nice guy. You know, he said, I know your father, I know your family and everything like that. You come from good stock, you know? And he's happy that because he's not that fun and had a boyfriend that was really, really cool. For me, I was kind of well groomed, you know, well behaved and stuff like that. But you know, all in all, my daughter now picks up and act like her mother sometimes, you know. And I say, lady, you know, if it wasn't for your mother, life would have been different, you know. But she been good for the last 19 years. I had no troubles with her.
That's good. That's good.
She been doing well musically. She wanted to be a doctor. She canceled that off, and I thought she was going to take up her media studies. That she said she wanted to run the operation, the magazine and the radio station. She wanted to do that, so she decided to run that, go that way. Thanks. Yeah, so she's doing well, and she have won the Ontario Music Award, Mayor Award, back-to-back 2018, 2019.
Okay.
Won the Activities Award of Music in Ontario in 2020. And she was supposed to go to Europe with the music director of Ontario to participate in some music festivals so in Germany, I think. But then COVID came and that didn't happen again.
Right. Oh, that's good.
Before she turned 18, you know, and they set up to go to work with some people who do advertisement, making music and songs and stuff like that. So I went there with her and I said, no, you can work in the same environment. When I look at the table, it's cigarette butt and a host of alcohol on the table. I said, my 16-year-old daughter can work in the same environment. Forget that. You know, if I leave her there to these people or host of adult men, you don't know. There's two girls working there.
Yeah.
All them drinking and smoking. I can't left. couldn't have left my daughter in this environment, So I said, no, it ain't gonna happen. And when they saw what she did musically, that she write music, she could read music, and so she composed. As a matter of fact, she composed 15 pieces for a play called Dark Horse Blue Light. And if you know how the story of Kodak not making the film for Black people, to Hershey's chocolate, could not identify the picture wasn't clear. So most of us who we see taking pictures today, they had to use something to a glare, something I can't remember how they call it now, to allow us to see us as we are Black people, a darker hue, to see us on the screen or see us in pictures, because it wasn't happening. And so if anybody wanted to check it out, it's called Dark House in No Light. That was it. So they created a play, because in the picture they take out in school, she was the darkest person in the class, one Black kid in the class, and they decided to do a movie play on that. She wrote 15 scenes, for all the 15 scenes, she wrote all the music for it. In the night here, as the same child, I want to sleep, and she used about 4 different instruments to create the different pieces. So
right.
Just original composition, original song design, and all this stuff like that. So she been doing well, and so she decided to follow her musical career that. But then she switched on me again and go into the broadcasting thing, media studies.
That's okay. She's young. She'll find herself.
Well, I did that.
Think about when you were a kid, how many different things you went through. You wanted to be this on Monday, on Tuesday you wanted to be something else, on Wednesday it was something else. So, you go through those phases. So she will
I'll go through that. I mean, can you imagine pre-1983, we had spoken to Jacqueline Kerr for getting us a scholarship to go and study in Cuba, and that happened there. So we ended up we were doing the blood transfusion and stuff like that to work with that in the hospital. So that didn't happen for us again either. The number of things I wanted to do, and that didn't. So that was one thing. And then I still had it, something in my head to do. Still I ended up liking it, and still, here I am in it,
right.
I wanted my parents wanted, my mother wanted to be a pastor, because my cousin Dave King, he and I grew up together practically. When he was going to Ghana to study, my mom was thinking I'd probably go to study theology as well. And lo and behold, they never knew what was in my mind. They never knew what I was doing. I was trained and preparing to go in the army full time. So now I finished high school and I was going straight in the army. So
right.
Children do have their own way. I remember 1980, I was selected to go to Nicaragua, right? To teach English. And my friend, somebody go and tell my mother, I said, no, you're not going nowhere. I said, see that? From now on, nobody gonna know nothing about me. Nobody gonna know. I'm gonna tell nobody what I'm doing. Because then they do all the talk, and the mother get to know that's not happening. She like the hands up with the Russia, not going nowhere. Going to El Salvador, it was a cesspool for US terrorism,
Right.
I wasn't taking that chance with me going on. I was young. I was like, 16 years at the 15 years at the time, 15, 16 years old, and that was like, that wasn't going to happen,
Yeah.
It wasn't going to happen for her. She only boy child at the time, mind you.
I know. I hear that. Oh, well.
Well, here we are today, and my daughter, so I'm not going to sleep right now, you know that, right?
Well, you know what? We're switching to daylight saving time tonight, and that's going to knock me out for the next 2 weeks. So you know what? I got to crash.
I won't be sleeping until my daughter come back home. I will not be sleeping. I'll be, she go and she come and say, Daddy, I reach. And when she leave and come back, and I won't sleep until she opened that door. I'm telling you right now.
No, I get it. I get it only too well.
First time out doing this party, so that ain't gonna happen. I'm not gonna sleep.
Yep.
I'll go and bake a bread right now. I'll go prepare to bake a bread and stuff like that for tomorrow. Put it off and make a cake or something like that. Yeah.
Nice, Mr. Baker.
I'm gonna do that. This is, I always bake bread all the time. And it's my late wife, her mom, who taught me to do a lot of these things.
Good. That's good. That's very good.
I'm glad she did. Because I could bake my bread, bake my cake, bake back cake, and learn to ice cake too. One of the first things she did, one of the things she was making a birthday cake for herself, and she would ice it and see she grabbed it, and she take a doily and she knead the icing instead of pasting the icing on. She make it kind of a dough like soft enough, and she roll it on the doily. with a rolling pin, and he took up the pattern of the doily, and she just covered it with the over the cake. And I said, like, wow. So
yeah. That's good.
I have to do that.
Good.
So here I am. Thank you for being here, and we're hoping that you'll be back next Saturday. Next Saturday night, we'll be having a different topic of discussion. I hope Mr. Dale will be released from his prison. And
yeah. You know that. I mean, what's up with that? You know, tell them what.
You know, they say when you're boarding cage, you can't go too far from the cage.
I mean, please. He would have been right there, not going anywhere. It's not like he's stepping out.
I know, you know, I guess, you know, the students have to be romance, right? So
it's okay. You know, we can't let him live that one down, right?
I know, eh? She said, where am I muted? They said they can't hear me. What's going on? No, I'm not muted. I'm not bad before. Oh yeah. So yeah, just seeing the message. Let me see what people see here before I cut them off. What's happening here? Okay, Sonia. I hope they hear me now. Can you go that transition from the video to that?
Right.
Yeah. I have to make this switch. That's why I need a technical operator to do that. Right. Yes, but those European countries did not want the Afro descendant to be citizens of their country. And remember, when they took those slaves and decolonized them, they did not have the rights as citizens if children was born there or not. Yeah, it was not. It's not going to happen. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it has been a plum pleasing pleasure, weather privilege. This is Gemfm, and look out for this week coming up. Pastor Daphne Gabriel with Community Dateline right here on Gemfm, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10:30 until 11:30. I hope that's tentatively the time because we had to work on some of the city says. Just tell me about this here to coordinate with her co-hosts. If that time we okay for them, but they're working on that. So Monday for sure they'll be on. Yeah, and Textman Warren will be on at 2:30 every day where they're talking with Tex, and every morning from 7:30 to 10 o'clock. Textman Warren will be. I think they'll be changing to 7 to 8:30 this time because the time have gone back. So I think there'll be a change in time for that. But we're looking forward to a bigger, better, and greater summer. Yeah. Have a blessed day, everybody. Please stay on to Gemfm, www.gemfm.ca. Listen to music, and with Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, we'll be playing some of that tonight as well, and some revolutionary songs and Maurice's speeches and stuff like that. We have a couple of lineup for later on tonight until 3 o'clock probably, and then go into the gospel hour until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, where we have a new pastor coming and say, I don't know who he is yet. Text him is a surprise, or we'll see who the surprise is going to be tomorrow morning for Gemfm service. All right, Margaret, thank you again, and I'm looking forward to see you next week. And during the week, we'll still probably here and there, see and chat online, say hi and hello. Yeah? Yep,
definitely. Right. Night. Take care, guys.
Everybody, God bless. Black Stallion. With them. Burn them. Jano, hit me now. Judgment morning, I'm at the gate and I'm waiting, because I'm begging the master, give me a walk with Peter. If I some sinners coming, with them I go be dealing, because the things that they do me, I want to fix them personally. Peter wait, Peter looks at the roads by the gate. Peter, look the Englishman, who sends us the roads to Africa land. Peter take trick, take rally, but
but leave Victoria for me. Peter just don't care what you say, but Mussolini he can't get away. Why? Blazing. You don't know the pressure that I undergo from these madman and woman. I feel the full weight of their hand. They may they oppress law. They never care about the poor. Peter, these people had a day. Well, now it's time for Stalin to play. Peter, wait, I say Peter, wait. Peter, look, Ian Smith by the gate. Peter, I don't want you to make fuss. Remember, I want Christopher Columbus. Peter, look, the Englishwoman who on South Africa refused to put sanctions. Peter, I just don't care what you do, but Reagan going in the fire too. Why? Blazing. Burning. Hit me now. Peter, don't grudge me. Your hand done full already. You don't deal with the Führer. Go ahead and take Foster. But that woman Mary, remember that's my baby. So much confusion that she make. You want to give Black Stalin a break. Peter, wait, I say Peter, wait. Peter, look, voter reach by the gate. Reporter, I don't want you to waste time. Remember, we still have Morgan behind. Peter, look, the English woman who sent foreign troops in Africa land. Peter, I just don't care what you say. The Ku Klux Klan man can't get away. Why? Blazing. I'm burning. Hit me. Burn them boys. Coming. We're burning. Oh, yeah. Peter, stop pushing. It have plenty more coming. They call them from overseas, but leave my Loki. During my lifetime, to me they were so unkind. So much corruption that they make. Now it is time they must feel me way. Peter, don't hold me back. Look, the one with draft the public order act. Peter, look, catch that big belly fella. We carry my money down Panama. Peter, look, the woman who bring foreign troops in the Caribbean. Peter, I just don't care what you do, but ball head go in the fire too. Why? I'm burning. Blazing. We're burning. Coming. Burn them, old man. Blazing. We're burning. Coming.
Yes. Peter, keep it fire burning. That is man, Dr. Leroy Callis, the Black Stalin, right here on Gemfm. Ladies and gentlemen, We are off. We are off, and I hope I wish you all the best for tonight. Please stay tuned. Follow us at www.gemfm.ca. Have a blessed day, everybody. God bless you and make you a blessing. All right? I'm out of here, folks. Love you. See you guys later. On the other side. All right? Bye, Shalom.
If a lie has come out about the bacchanal down at the convention when Ivan asked Williams, Doc, why Venezuela don't want we to smelt her? Doctor, can you tell me why Jamaica vex with me? Eric say, tell Manley and Burnham I've got oil. Let Barrow kiss me tail, oil don't spoil. 3 of them come like 3 blind